I am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. How's everyone doing? Oh man, it's a beautiful day outside. It is Sunday, 69 degrees in Kitsap County. I know many of you may be off to church. We got our barn burner today, and I cannot wait. As you can see, I'm not alone in the studio today. I have my oldest friend, Roderick McGrew. How you doing, Ron?
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Oh man, I would tell you they're probably doing all right. So glad that you can come and be on the podcast.
My pleasure.
For those of you that don't know, I met Rod in the third grade. So as you do know my story, I was adopted at the age of 5 in New York, and we moved to Washington State, to the Seattle area, in the second grade, or in the third grade. And so 2 days after the third grade started, I was going to, what school was that?
John Muir
in Seattle. Shout out to John Muir. Mr. Breinstein.
Mr. Breinstein. Yes, indeed.
And, I met Rod, and we have been friends ever since. So that is almost 40 years next year, right?
Yes, indeed.
40 years. So that's a long time. So I definitely appreciate your friendship. And I tell you, it's probably one of the oldest relationships that I have. That's someone who is not a Cameron. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, Rod considers my dad his dad, and I consider his mom my mom. And both rest in power.
Yes, indeed.
As they have both left us here in the last 3 years.
Love you, mom and dad.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
For them both to go. So just lets us know we're getting older, huh?
Unfortunately, yeah.
So you have any clean, funny stories about our friendship that you can tell? He knows where all the bodies are buried.
So I'm going to be real careful, but I'll tell you, the way Marwan and I met wasn't a handshake. It was actually a fight. There was a young lady that I was enamored with in the third grade, and I will leave her name out. We'll call her Lisa.
Okay. Was it Lisa?
Yeah. It was Lisa, but we'll just leave it at that. I remember her name. I remember everything about this girl. But I remember it was recess, and I went out, and I don't know why or what possessed me, but I lifted her dress up, and then Marwan came out of nowhere, and we got into a fight. Of course,
Captain Saver.
Yeah, the long-standing argument is who won that fight. But we won't even get into all that. But let's just say we've been friends ever since. So, hey, thank you, Lisa, for bringing us together.
Well, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, I've been keeping and simping from early on, right? It is what it is.
I guess it is.
But, that is a pretty crazy story. And I wasn't like that. So I don't even know what made me do that. Dad didn't raise us to be, like violent or fight or do anything like that. So I honestly don't know where that came from. So, like I said, I had some problems from way back for sure.
But I guess you could say that God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. So, back then, you pretty much, if you didn't move around, they kept you together, right? Because it was all about desegregation. True story?
True.
So we went to the third grade together, and then we went to Broadview Thompson for 4th, 5th, and 6th, right?
Yep.
And then in the 7th grade, I was heartbroken because I had to go to Catholic school and take care of my brothers and sisters.
Right.
And everyone else went to Asa Mercer. Shout out to Shaylin. So Shaylin and all of us grew up together, which is a pretty crazy, right? And then I begged my dad to go to Asa Mercer with everyone else. So I got to go in the 8th grade. And then after that, it was Ingram for the 9th grade, and which I did not finish. And Rod graduated, and I just went to proms. I went to 3 proms though, so you know.
Yeah, I did too. It was kind of nice. I thought I was king of all kings.
So I tell you, man, you know, I had some rough times back then, and if I wasn't tethered, you know, to you and your mom, I'm not sure where I would have been because I wasn't talking to my dad during those years, right? So, even with all my trouble and being in and out of juvie and stuff like that, I was still connected to the Church and God in Christ, you know, powerhouse, you know, Mama Georgia Marks. So, and she didn't play that, and
she did not.
No matter what I was going through, you know, her love was unconditional. But she didn't tolerate no mess. So, you know, I couldn't bring that mess there.
No, you couldn't.
And so as wild as I was, you know, I'd come and spend the night and still go to church. And, oh man, church was murder, man.
Yeah. You know, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal churches, you know, there were many nights where you go to church in the morning and then you only had enough time to run home to eat a hot dog before evening service started because morning service lasted so long. So, yeah, church was rough, but it was expected of all of us, including Marwan. Yeah, he's my friend, but Marwan was my mom's son. So if we went to church, he went to church.
Well, and you know, the thing that was so crazy about it, right, is so, you know, back then you couldn't spend the night at another person's house unless, you know, your parents knew the other parents, right? So they had to be vetted for you to do that. And, you know, it's like, okay, you can go ahead and spend the night. And so we would always want to spend the night at my house because if I spent the night at his house, that meant we were in church all Friday night. So it was like, oh man, come on. All Friday night, all day Sunday. And as much as I loved hanging out with Rod, I couldn't wait to go home on Sunday. And it's like, man, I don't have the whole of Sunday night service. Like, yeah, I'm going home, man. There's only so much I can take. It's like we only get church for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours on Sunday at Mount Zion in Seattle, you know? It was just too much.
Yeah, but it was my life. So I used to love it when I could go over to Marwan's house. Oh my goodness. I was so enamored.
But we got church camp out of it.
Yeah. That was some years there.
I was a special type of heathen back then.
A special type.
So tell them a little bit about church camp.
Well, the first year I went, it was a Pentecostal church camp. True Vine was the name of the church. Shout out
Tacoma?
to True Vine in Tacoma. Yeah, I don't know if they're still there or not because this was so many years ago, but it was a church camp that I got forced to go to. So for the first year I went, and I was miserable because I didn't have anyone there I knew, and I didn't really want to make that many friends. But then I was able to convince Marwan to go the next year.
Craziness.
Oh my goodness. It was a time to be had. I will tell you that this is a Pentecostal church camp. At the camp, my name was Roderick. Marwan's name was Ice. He was asked by an elder of the church, "What is your name, son?" And that man looked at him and said, "Ice." I'm like, are you kidding me, man? This might get back to my mama. What are you doing?
Had I left home by then, or was I still living?
You were with your dad for the first 2. I think you were with your dad. But no. I mean, we went to this church camp. It then became fun for me because I had my partner with me. So then we were going every year. But it was more so of the spectacle of quote unquote Ice and everything he did. Now, the one thing that will always stick with me, I mean, and we've done many things. We were running to the woods at night, stuff like that. But the one thing that stuck with me that I still mess with him about is how can you possibly, as a God-fearing man, undercut a church store with your own goods?
here's the thing: their prices were kind of high, and
prices were reasonable.
I didn't have a job. I wanted to make sure I had some money. And, it's my entrepreneur
tried to shut him down. He then created a clandestine type of environment where it was almost like drug transactions. I got that licorice for you. I got them sodas for you. I mean, it was insanity.
Well, here's the thing. They were fool enough to let me go into town to the store.
Take him to town with his newfound money where he would reload his own personal store to sell to people under the church. It was crazy, but it was good times. I mean, there were a lot of fond memories there. It was good time.
All right. Yeah, it was pretty good. I had a lot of fun too. I really look forward to going. And if you can imagine, if anyone knows Church and God in Christ, it's a lot of church. Just let me say that it's a lot of church, and it's a whole week of church. Day, night. You got to wash dishes. You got to do all this stuff. But man, I mean, it was a blast. It was so much fun. So, I definitely look forward to going to it. How old were we?
Oh. Dude, I can't. I think when you started, we were maybe. I started. I was 16. You came. We were 17, and then we became counselors.
Oh, that was problematic.
I don't know why. That was okay. They made both of us counselors. Now me, okay, I can probably understand, but Counselor Ice, because I mean, he carried that persona all the years we went there, and. That was the thing. Where's Brother Ice at? And he's coming.
Well, that was one of my street names back in the day. Running around, having a good time. Don't even know where that came from, but it is what it is. The good old days.
Indeed.
A lot of folks don't know that. What was it? It was right before my 21st birthday, right? When I got mugged.
Yeah.
So, I almost died, and they talk about, black men or black boys not living to see their 21st birthday. So I got, you know what? I'll tell the story. So I'm playing dominoes at a house party. And it's about, there's like 20 people in there. We're gambling, having a good time. Everything is good, right? And, I left, and this is way back before cell phones. So this is when pay phones were still in existence. So I decided, okay, I'll call my shorty and go over to her house, see if she's, available. So I call her, and we get off the phone, and there's some dudes out sitting on a car with some other people that I was just in the house party with, right? So I talked to them for a little bit, and then I decided to walk off. And I don't remember where I was going. If I was going to her house, I think I was, because her and my foster mom lived on Rainier Beach, right? Mm-hmm. So, down Henderson. So I think I was going to her house. So I'm walking, and they're walking. Two dudes are walking behind me. Well, I just got done talking to them, so I'm not thinking anything of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. Next thing I know, I'm falling to the ground. They hit me in the head with a steel pipe, right? So I'm laying on the ground, and I'm laying on my stomach. Now it's like 2:00 in the morning in front of Stock Market, which back then was the Stock Market or Big Bear. I can't remember, changed names so many times.
Market at the time, yeah.
And I'm like literally like right across the street from Rainier Beach High School. And, cars are going past, every now and then. And the guy is waving traffic on, like, just go on, it's all good. And the other guy is kneeled down next to me. I'm laying on my stomach. He has my arm twist behind my back, and he's trying to take off my gold watch, right? Now, my brother gave me this watch. It's a Longines watch, rest in power to Tom. And the clasp that it has on it is very different, right? So he couldn't get the watch off. And so he's got my arm bent back, and I'm telling him, and I look, and he's got the gun to my back. And I'm like, hey, man, you ain't got to kill me. You know what I'm saying? Just, take what you want. So at that time, it's like, all right, it's fight or flight. You know what I'm saying? It's 2:00 in the morning. The one car that I saw has driven past. I got to do something. So while he's trying to get my watch, right? Because at some point he's got to, he's so focused on trying to get it with the one hand. I go and I grab the gun, right? So we're fighting. The other guy comes back over, hits me with the pipe. I grab the gun, or before the other guy comes over, I'm able to grab the gun. I shoot one of the dudes, right? And the guy comes over, hits me with the pipe. I drop the gun and I get up and I just take off running. You know what I'm saying? And I get maybe about 10 feet away and I hear pop, 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 pop. And I'm just running. So I run all the way to my foster mother's house. Shout out to Faye. And I get in, and back in those days, they had the black onyx tables with the mirror top. And I had the mini afro, and my head looked like a red sponge. You know what I'm saying? And so, my foster mom is screaming. I remember running after the gunshots stopped. I looked back once, and the dude that I shot was still in the middle of the street. So I shot him in the hip. He couldn't leave the scene. By the time I got to Vince's Pizza, almost got to that corner there, the fire truck was passing, and I'm like doing this, and they're going, but I'm still hauling ass. You know what I'm saying? So I get to my foster mom's house. The police get there. The fire department gets there, and they start asking me questions. What's the date? Who's the president? That's all I remember, right? And then you pretty much ended up having to fill me in on what happened to me. Right. So, as you know, Rod is in the medical profession. So, he's always been enamored with that. I blood, all that stuff. I ain't going to be able to get down with
that. That's my jam.
But I had a subdural hematoma. They had to drill a hole in my skull. And you could talk about that.
So, yeah. So, I get the call that said that he had got jumped. I can't remember where I was at the time, but it said he got jumped. So I'm making a beeline to the hospital, like just gone. And so when I got there, they had already tapped his brain because they couldn't keep it from swelling up and filling with fluid. And they had already had the drain in his head. And it was strange because I had never seen this type of drain. It actually screwed into his head, and it was just draining fluid out of his head. It was craziness. And I remember getting there, and he had woke up, and he had sat up because he saw me, and then he just started throwing up because he was just in a way, and then he just fell back to sleep, and he was asleep for like 2 or 3 days. So it was definitely craziness, and I was like, my goodness. And I had stayed there, and, and it's really cool because then everything circles back to church. And so now I got my mom praying for him and all just prayer wars on him because, that's my friend and I'm not trying to see my friend die. And, when you're young, you think you're all hard and whatnot, but trust me, no matter what phase you are in your life, you always come back to God.
Oh man,
it does not matter. So, yeah, it that was really, really crazy. And like the craziness about it is, even to this day, he has the memory lapses of different things that happened in his life. So I have to remind him, and sometimes it's a crashing shock to him when I tell him the stuff. Well, you remember when you used to do this? Hey, you remember when you did this? And he's just like, I did all that. I mean, it's like, yeah. So basically now I'm his historian for the things that he don't want to remember. So it's funny. I love sharing his stories because it's like he's hearing them for the first time. It's incredible.
It is a trip. I wonder, how did I ever get through college? When I was, I had a cane. So I wasn't steady. I was having seizures, when it was over. So I mean, that definitely really impacted me.
Yeah.
And it was like, I almost became a statistic. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And then still, I was a knucklehead for a few more years after that, and then kind of wore off. 24. So that was pretty much it. But I mean, crazy story. Wrong place at the wrong time. out in the middle of the street, 2:00 in the morning. And, they say nothing good happens, at them hours.
Sure enough.
And that was it, but I wasn't asking for trouble, but, trouble found me. So, got to change your circle of influence and your circle of support. And, that probably would not have happened to me. But what I would say to folks is, try to engage with people that are going to be positive in your life.
Indeed.
And kind of steer you in the right direction. So, obviously I wasn't hanging out with Mom or with Rod during that time, because if I had, that probably wouldn't have been my situation. I'll tell you too, these times right now seem really crazy, as I, do this podcast and doing research and staying on top of current events. I'm just seeing folks acting just crazy and unraveling, as we start to come back together from social distancing for a year. I mean, the rage and the anger and the hurt and just everything, people are losing it over the simplest things, and it's fatal in a lot of situations. So definitely concerned about what that's going to look like. And now you've got, the CDC saying, hey, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. And what that's going to do to folks that, don't want the vaccine but don't want to wear a mask. And we've got this triple variant that's now here from India. We've got the warmer temperatures coming. So more people are going to be more relaxed, and then flu season is going to come. And so my concern is really what is it going to look like when we get there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that you saw a lot of craziness in the ER during COVID.
Yeah, it's funny that in 2020, we saw so many COVID patients that I think the flu just snuck through and played like it was COVID, So a lot of times before they, really streamlined the testing, flu symptoms mimic the COVID symptoms. So we just automatically said they were COVID. And we were down 67% in flu vaccines last year.
Really?
Down 67% because no one believed it was the flu. Everyone said it's COVID, it's COVID, it's COVID. And so as a organization, we erred on the side of, well, let's not call it the flu. Let's just call it COVID and treat it as such. So this year there might be more of a distinction, but like Marwan said, the summer is going to relax a lot of people, and people are going to forget that this is an airborne disease, whether the CDC says you can catch it outside or not. And you're going to be in close proximity with a lot of people who now were just told, oh, you don't have to wear your mask. No one heard you have to be vaccinated. Everybody just heard you don't have to wear a mask. And that's the problems that you're going to face, is that everyone now feels like they don't have to wear a mask anymore.
It's crazy. Do you remember, and if you guys don't know also, Rod is a board member on Gather Together, Grow Together. And he is the first one on the board to be vaccinated because of, his profession. And during that time when he got his vaccination, no one else on the board wanted the vaccine. We were dead set against it.
Yeah.
And remained that way for quite a while. Do you remember what month you were vaccinated?
Yeah, I was vaccinated in November.
Okay. So we were, hell no, there's nothing they can do or say for us to get the vaccine. And now, my second shot of Moderna is on June 5th. And so with the research and conversations, now, again, this is my oldest friend, right, that I trust, who's in the medical profession, and I'm still like, I'm not getting that vaccine, right? I mean, that's just where I'm at, right? But thinking about it, watching time pass, looking at, my health issues that I've shared with all of you, that convinced me to do that. And through that conversation, like I said, if you are a person who's in the no camp and very adamant about that, understand we were in that camp. I was in that camp. Everyone else at G2 was in that camp. We were actually offered the vaccine pretty early on as an organization, since we're, kind of first responders, with our transportation, but no one wanted it. And just thinking about it and talking about, from a leadership perspective of saying, hey, um, you've done the research, you talk to people that you trust, you've had the vaccine for months now, right? And you had the Pfizer, correct?
Yeah.
That is like, okay, go ahead and do this. And when I did, shout out to Rob, he stepped up and said, okay, if you do it, then I'll do it. And sometimes that's what it takes, right? I was scared. I was nervous. I still had anxiety. I'm still definitely anxious of the second shot, right? Because typically you get pretty sick from it, from what I hear. So I'm concerned, but that's really what it took, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this shot. And by me saying that I'm going to do it, Rob is able to say, you know what, if you do it, I trust you. I trust the research that I've done. I will get the shot. And now he's being the leader in his family. And if things kind of work out okay, then I think they'll be more likely to become vaccinated. And again, November to his second shot, he just got his shot 2 days ago. So, and he got the Pfizer also.
Right.
And he didn't really have any symptoms, except for he's got a shoulder injury. So he got it in his non-dominant arm, but he sleeps on that side. And so he was sore because he slept on that shoulder. So that was his report. And you can respond to that in the chat, Rob, if you want, about your symptoms. But other than that, he was feeling pretty good. But that's what it looks like, right? And if we're going to reach herd immunity, if we're gonna, take care of our family and our friends, I think that's what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a snowball. Someone in your family is gonna have to take the lead and say, okay, we've been people for all this time. One of us has to say yes and get this ball rolling. And that's what it definitely is going to take, And I come from a Southern family, and Southern folk don't believe in any type of medicine whatsoever. So it has been quite
dirt.
Anyway, so it's been quite the ordeal to convince people to take it. And so for me, I just led by example, but in the end, I just tell people, do your own research, feel it out, read about everything. It doesn't hurt. And then in the end, make a informed decision. Don't say no to be saying no. That's ridiculous. Say no. And if you say no, let it be because you have reasons and not because you heard this or you heard that.
Reasons that we're here. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I see. I guess now it's the Conduit karaoke.
Well,
show.
I get to act a fool when I'm hanging out with you, right? We gotta have some shenanigans.
I guess we do.
But yeah, no, it really is important. So Rob is saying just a sore shoulder, good otherwise, and today feels like a bruise only when I touch it. No other side effects. All right. And so again, he got the Pfizer, I got the Moderna, Rod got Pfizer. So November to May, we're talking about 6 months. And so what I hear from a lot of folks that are still on the fence is, I need more time, right? I want to see what this vaccine is going to do. And so I guess I would submit, how long, have you set a time frame? Is it a year? Is it a year and a half? Is it 2 years? Like, how much time has to go past for you to feel like, okay, I can do this?
And then also, what are you watching to gauge your decisions in? I mean, are you listening to conspiracy theories, or are you actually getting good data from good sources so that you can make that informed decision? I think that's the problem, is that amongst all the garbage that is being said about the vaccines, the good data is getting buried. And I just implore people, while the conspiracy theories are entertaining and sometimes even scary at times, search for the good data and get some good research in so that you can, when you make your decision, it's an informed decision and not just a knee-jerk reaction because you feel like the vaccine was pushed too quickly or what have you.
All right. I appreciate that. And again, as always, if you want to get the vaccine, we are providing free transportation for the vaccine. Just give us a call, 360-373-3000. You might, if you were to get it at Walmart, which is where Rob got it. Let's say you need to do some shopping and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get the vaccine today and I'm going to call G2. I need to go to Walmart anyway, so I'm going to get a free ride out of it, right? So please take advantage of us in that way.
Indeed.
We're there for you. Again, for the rental assistance, again, if you know of someone, if not yourself, even if you're a landlord, if you're couch surfing, there is money out there that can help you to stay where you're at. Please access it while there are funds available. It's so tremendously important. Again, give us a call, 360-373-3000. We're there for you. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. I am Marwan Cameron. You're watching The Conduit. My guest is Roderick McGrew.
Hello, hello.
I think when you were, 9, 10, used to call you Roderick McGroody Booty.
Not we, just one person used to call me that.
Oh, I think everyone calls you that.
I don't know. I think maybe Amanda Marcella may have piggybacked the trend that somebody started.
I don't know anything about. I don't remember. Right?
Yeah, that becomes very convenient
Selective
for
memory. And if you see me with the fresh cut, you can actually see the scar.
Yep.
I think it's on this side, so you can see it. But that's pretty crazy. I'm glad I don't remember any of the time in the hospital at all.
No, you didn't remember any of it, but I sure did. And it's something to see your best friend in that way, to make you realize that life is always precious and you got to just embrace the moments. You really do, because just that quick, those moments can end. And I thank God every day that he gave Marwan another chance to get it right. So,
for me, the man that I am today, I could not have been that person if I was taken out back then. You know what I mean? And so I think about all of the lost potential of all of our kids that have been slain, either from, gang stuff, police, violence, just whatever the case may be. And the younger they are, the more tragic it is, right?
Sincerely.
But, all life really is precious, and you don't know how someone might end up turning it around. So the person that I was back then, I don't think I was really a bad person back then. I was just a person that maybe did some bad things. You know what I mean? But I never would have had the opportunity to be who I am today and help people today if I died back then.
Yeah.
So I just think about that. And that's why I'm so adamant on trying to help people, right? And I tell folks that when I look at people, I look at them like the Matrix, right? The green lines of code are coming down because I could see a person's potential even when they can't see it in themselves.
Mm.
And so a lot of people will say, why are you giving these people so many chances, right? They messed you over. They did this, they did that. And, it's like I'm giving them, just beyond what anyone else would do, right? And it's like I'm human. It does affect me, but it's like, man, it might just be this time for this person that it'll change for them. So I definitely believe in that because I've seen it, right? I'm a product of it. I mean, obviously they have to want it, right? You can't just keep extending chance after chance after chance if they're not taking advantage of the opportunity that's being given to them. But if they are trying to change and you reach out and you're there to, give that support and that help, I think you got to do that because they can really blossom.
Indeed.
So many people that we're friends with here on Facebook that watch the Conduit that are doing social justice work in the community and community work have very similar stories, right? Of who they were in the past, using that, right, to be better people today and to serve others. So just really appreciative of that. Thankful to God that I'm definitely still here. Shout out to Shaylin. Shaylin is listening. How you doing, Shay? We were telling the story about Asa Mercer days and Broadview Thompson and Ingram. So, Shaylin used to run the student store. Who was it that was telling me? Was it you, Shay, or Rod that was telling me that Borcini's bakery is closed?
Yeah, I heard that it is.
Man, how sad, man. That was the spot.
I believe I had maybe 12 birthday cakes that came from there.
Man, everybody had that Borcini's, boy. Borcini's was the spot. So, I mean, that was a huge staple that's gone now.
It's just a little small business in that little hole for all them years. But, oh my goodness.
The pink box.
That pink box. When you saw that pink box on the table, it was a good day.
Man, and their cakes were for real. And the store was really weird, too. Had probably weird to me because of the noodles and spices and things like that.
Right.
Remo's. You remember Remo's? Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. The good old days. Oh, what was the where did we used to walk to when we would leave school at Ingram to go and get the pizza bread?
Oh, what was the name of that bakery?
And the apple fritters.
Oh, I can't even think of it.
We weren't supposed to leave campus.
No, but we did every time.
Hey, Shay, you remember Farrell's ice cream?
Oh my goodness! I remember using the candy bar money that when we were selling candy bars, and we took that money that we were supposed to turn in and went to Farrell's and just ate ice cream.
Oh man, I might have stole money from Dad to go to Farrell's.
Oh my goodness,
that got my. I got whipped for that one.
Yeah, you might have got a little bit for that.
Yeah, I did.
I know I did.
And then what, the Red Dot Water Park?
Yeah.
Where was that at? Issaquah or something?
I think it was Issaquah or Sammamish or something like that. Yeah, we used to go to that water park. Was awesome.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Shay, who was your teacher in the fourth grade when you were at Broadview Thompson? We had Mrs. Clute,
Mrs. Clute, Mrs. Corey, and Miss Hayakawa.
Hayakawa. Who were your teachers, Shaylin? You remember? It was being back in school because we were in the classes with the same people. And I remember, man, that bus ride was like 2 hours long, man.
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous bus ride when, if y'all know, I lived maybe a mile from Franklin High School, and they bused me all the way to North Seattle to go to Ingram High School. Just ridiculousness.
And I'm down in Rainier Beach, going way out there, and we would get out of school at 3:15, and we would pass that PEMCO building that had the clock on there. It'd be like 4:15, 4:30. It's like, good Lord, man, we're not getting home no time soon.
Nope.
And, that was long days.
Ugh.
Long days. I always remember because we were in Horizon, and the best way I could describe it, you correct me if I'm wrong, it was like if you didn't want your kid to skip a class, but they were advanced. Is that?
Yeah, that would be fair to say. Yeah, it was an advanced class. So basically, it was you took the 1% of all the kids in the grade and put them in this one class, and you didn't skip a grade, but the work you did and the curriculum was way more advanced for the regular third graders. So we were in this Horizon program. I don't even know how I qualified to be in it. I don't know what I did. I just ended up in it.
Me neither.
I can't even remember how I was in it.
Me neither, man. I don't know how you were in it either.
Oh, wow.
So Shay said she went to Dunlap. What's that, 4th, 5th, and 6th? Did you go to Broadview Thompson for third grade, Shay? You know what's so weird too was because we were in those classes, they kind of made fun of us. So I would want to be in the class with the regular folks or the special ed folks because those were the cool kids.
Yeah, those were where all your friends were. We were isolated in the smart people class, and I'm just like, I want to go where my friends are.
Yeah, who's that? Marty Reeves and
Corey Sampson, Marty. Especially Marty. Marty used to crack me up. He was so funny.
I can't even remember all the names. You'll remember more than I do. You could say a few more, shoot it out. Shay will ask me, "Oh, you remember this one? You remember that one?" Like, no. I know.
Spencer.
What was Spencer's last name?
Spencer Otis. Right? Yeah, Spencer and Charnette.
Shout out to the Otis family.
Had the biggest crush on Miss Otis.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I thought she was so cool. And Tanika Thompson, you remember her?
Yeah, I remember her. Dang, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, man. There were a lot of people.
But we just kind of grew up together and went the same way. Well, I was so mad at my dad when I had to go to St. Teresa for the 7th grade. Oh, I hated that, man. And I had to take the public bus. So back then, it was Renita, Jamie, and Chris. We would get on the bus. We got on our uniforms, and we would catch the city bus from Rainier Beach all the way to the CD to go to school. So I was responsible for getting them back and forth to school. 7th grade, you're what, 13, 14?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was so mad at him for that because not only did I not get to go to junior high with my friends, but I had to take care of my younger siblings too. Oh, I was pissed. And well, I guess he mustn't know I was going to finish high school anyway. You're going to be finishing school anyway, so you might as well. I remember my dad telling me, I was starting to rebel in my 9th grade year, right? So I was like, well, I'll show him because, he was an educator. And I was like, well, I'm not going to try in my classes. So I got all D's. And he didn't even punish me. He just said, your grades are your grades that's going to impact you. So the decisions that you make now are going to impact you into your adulthood.
Yeah.
And so I guess he gave me that reverse psychology, which pissed me off even more. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just hurt yourself. And so I didn't end up, like, all right, well, then I'm done. And then I unraveled. But even though I left home in my 9th grade year, he had instilled, God, education, you know what I'm saying? And so 2 days after my 16th birthday, I went down to, Seattle Central Community College and just took the GED cold.
Yep.
And passed it. So, I tell folks, I can't have a master's degree without a GED. So, I had to do that. But he did instill that just in my 10 years that I had with him from 5 to 14 or 15 was definitely impactful. So I needed that time for sure.
He always had messages like that too. He was a big proponent of self-awareness.
Yeah, I was self-aware of that belt.
And he was very handy with the strap as well. So
he was handy with the strap.
So, but no, he would always have things like that sounded like he didn't care, but it was also teaching moments. And I really appreciated that because after he had said it to you, you're still mad, blah, blah, blah. But then you thought about it and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. And now as we're older, we get to look back and, hindsight's 2020, but all the lessons that we learned from our parents and the stuff that we were like, whatever, we're going to do it. Here we are now, almost 50, realizing that our parents knew exactly what they were doing.
What you talk about, Willis? I ain't almost 50.
Yeah, he's almost 50, and
snitch!
He's
almost 50.
He's older than me, so we'll just keep it there.
Wow!
Don't let the grade fool you.
There goes the bus.
That's right. You under it? There you go. Get nice and comfortable.
Shout out to Shay. She said she went to Rocks Hill do the busing in West Seattle for 3rd and 4th. Was at Dunlap for 5th. Columbia is 6th, 7th and 8th. Mercer, and then Ingram. Dang, you did bounce around a lot, Shay.
Yeah, that's rough.
Dang. I don't even think I heard of Rocks Hill.
I haven't. I heard of Dunlap.
I heard of Columbia.
I heard of Columbia.
And I heard of Dunlap.
Heard of Rocks Hill.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Yeah, I remember me and Jaredon would slide down the stairs in blankets, right? And we were living in the house in Bayview, the 4-story house where it was so cool, right? So it was this huge house. Like I said, my dad adopted 17 of us. And at this time, there might have been 6 or 7 of us living together. And my room was right next to Tom's, and my room was blue, right? So when we moved in, the carpet was blue, it was shag carpet. The walls were blue, which was my favorite color. And then Tom's room was green carpet, green room. And so we were on the 3rd floor. Then there was an attic above that. And there was a laundry chute from the top. Remember, we would throw stuff down the chute and it would drop all the way down to the basement. So it was just a cool brick house that just had all these really cool features in it. And so Jared and I would slide down the stairs in the blankets, and which, I mean, that couldn't have been comfortable, but we were liking it. I can't even remember how old I was, maybe 11 or so. And the blankets were at the bottom of the stairs, and I did something to Tony. And so I pissed Tony off, and Tony's chasing me around, and you could run around my house, right? So the dining room and the auxiliary dining room were kind of connected in this big circle, and there were these 2 kind of French doors that were glass. And I was running and tried to open up the door, and instead of grabbing the handle, I put my fist through the panel. And so you might be able to see all the scars where I got slashed up there. I mean, it cut me deep. It looked, my arm looked like oatmeal. So every time my heart beat, it would be white, and fill up with blood and pour off, and then be white again, right?
Yeah, I remember.
I'm screaming and hollering, and I had to go to the hospital and get the stitches. And all Dad said is like, teach you about running through the house. I was like, what?
Well, that was the depth of his pampering and his coddling and comforting was, well, don't run through the house.
Hey, man, that is some tough love for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's more like tough like. I don't think there's any love in that.
Tough like? I don't even love you. I just like you a little bit.
Right now, I'm just liking you.
I learned my lesson. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. That hurt. I was hollering. And they had to pull that glass out.
Oh my god!
Boy, that laceration was deep. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen like my flesh like that. But yeah, he did have a lot of lessons like that, and I think the reason why is again being in the courses that we were in, he knew that I could process the information, and I what I will say was he had parenting that was specific to the child, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I was afraid of that belt. So I was good in school up until, I unraveled because that belt was serious. But for Tom, you could whip me. Just don't put me on restriction. Tom hated being on restriction. So he would take the belt any day of the week. He whipped me every day for a week as long as I can keep going outside. And our house used to be the hub, right?
Right. Everybody used to come there.
Yeah, we had the basketball courts. Everyone's playing, and he would be in that same house, looking out
the window. Yeah, that's right.
Watching like 20 people in the neighborhood,
just enjoying life. Yeah, that's a rough haul because you're hearing fun, and you gave me a part of it.
Yeah, Dad knew how to punish you.
He knew what to take from you.
And we'd always get in trouble. It was like, is he some kind of sorceress? And I think I told this story where, he was working on his principalship, right? So he was going to night school. He was teaching during the day, and then he was doing 911 dispatch at night while he was working on his principal certificate. And at the same time, adopting all these kids, right? Again, if I could be half the man that he was, then I would have lived a productive and fulfilling life.
Indeed.
Right? He adopted me when he was 24 years old. When I was 24, I'm just starting over. It's like, okay, I got to go to Olympic College. I'd fallen off the scaffold, destroyed my back, and I got to reinvent myself. Right? He's adopting children. Like, what? how that mindset, that level of maturity, that not only are you taking care of yourself, but you could take care of children, and never married. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, from 5 to 15, I was not raised with a mother in the household. And so, we had a very opposite kind of, the plight of single motherhood in Black America. I had the opposite experience of that, right? Which probably explains why I'm so crazy.
That could be one
preacher kid.
One explanation.
Just one. Oh man, I got hit in the head. I mean that's it, right? That explains it all. I'm good.
Oh goodness.
Let me not spit out my
on your equipment.
Let me not tell that story. What was I talking about? I was going somewhere with that, but then you made me have to put my glass down.
Jeez.
Well, anyway, just the lessons were good. I think one of the things that Dad would say is take the good things that you felt that I did good as a parent, and use those with Layla and Nikoya, and then throw out the bad things that you thought were bad, right? And over time, being a parent. So my dad had this unique thing, right? So he adopted when he was 24, but my dad was still had foster kids even when he passed, at 5?
Yeah.
So things evolve, right? So is it corporal punishment? That's the word?
Yeah.
Thinking, so that went away, right? That became taboo. And so he kind of started to go away from that. And we both would be like, Dad, you would beat us for that. Like, how are you letting them get away with that?
Unbelievable stuff. Just, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I called Dad Winthrop one time. He slapped me so hard, I left my feet and put a dent in the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? And, it's like, man, them were the old days. And then he evolved, and I remember I had Tiffany and I, when I was married, we flew all the Camerons out from the East Coast. So you remember that? There was 12 people in the house?
Yeah, there was a lot of people that day.
And the kids were acting, they were off the chain.
Unbelievable.
And it was like, yeah, you're not going to beat them?
We're just sitting there looking in awe.
Yeah.
Because we've had to tiptoe all of our life, and these kids are just being unbelievable. And my mother was the same way. It was like, I'm watching her with the grandkids. I was like, putting our feet on the couch was an absolute beatdown. And these grandchildren are jumping off the couch. And my mom just sitting there. And I'm like, should I go get the belt now, or you just want to use the ironing cord, whatever? I'm just like, yeah, I guess it's an evolution thing. They had to evolve.
And your mom was no joke. I mean, okay, so she's 5'2", right? 5'2"?
No, she's 5'0".
Oh, 5'0". So she's 5 foot. We're in church and we're talking, right? Because one, church is long. Two, I mean that's
so we're in there laughing and joking in church.
She would give you that look, and then if she caught you again, she would pinch you. And oh my God, she would pinch you so hard, you were gonna pass out, and you better not yelp or do anything. I would rather take a punch to the face. I had never been pinched like that, and she would pinch on the back of your
right on that little piece.
Oh my God, man! I don't know how that little lady would pinch so dang hard. What you gonna do? You're in church, service is going on. You did have some cute girls that went to your church. You know what I'm saying? You didn't want to be embarrassed. I was like, I don't even want the tears to start rolling down my face. So we ended up learning sign language.
Mm-hmm. We would just sign, and then we was right. We had to be so good. Even when I got older, I still had that same fear. Even when I moved out, I stopped going to church almost altogether. But I would show up for Mother's Day and little events like that to represent my mom. And even then, I still had that "please, mom, don't pinch me" fear, because I would say something crazy, and she would, like you said, give me that look. And after so many years, what that look meant. You're just like, okay, I'm just gonna shut up until church is over.
A lot of people don't know your mom used to be a race car driver.
Yeah, she is okay. So my mother wasn't always church. My grandparents were, but my mother was not. I mean, my mom knew pimps. She knew prostitutes. Her and her sister would go out drinking. She was pregnant with my sister and they'd be out at the club. My mom was wild before she got into the church. And so when she got in it, she was in it. And so church was her life. And, you went to church, you did what you were supposed to do, you came home. She was just that way. She reinvented herself, and then even to her death, she stopped going to church as much because then she adopted the attitude like she got her time in. And so now she could talk to God from home. That's what she said. So, but my mother was, she was just that person that, she became the mother at the church. And a lot of people were looking to her to help her with her kids. And I used to remember my mom and your dad just having conversations. And I mean, just the best of friends. And they would just laugh and just joke. And they had that same commonality of children and the Lord. It's just a lot of fond memories when we were growing up. I mean, we talk and joke about all the beatings, but be honest.
The beatings.
Yeah, I can't call them whoopings, man. I was getting beat. But I wouldn't change my life for nothing. It was good times.
Oh man, your mom would make them house burgers
that just look like half packs of meat. Just you only ate one.
Yeah,
you only ate one, and then she'd make all them fries, and you're just like, oh my god.
Well, it was like a setup because we wanted to go down to Chubby and Tubby or go down and play video games, right? And it was like, oh, I'm going to make these hamburgers. And it's like, okay, you eat the hamburger. You're not going nowhere.
No, you're not.
You can't move. You get a whole trough of fries and this burger that got onions sticking out of it and everything else, man, and burgers. And she broiled them.
Oh, yeah.
Man, those burgers were crazy, man. Yeah, I miss those days.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, some restaurants have bucket of fries. It was like, yeah, no, you ain't got nothing on the fries that she was cranking up.
I mean, she would have a tray of just fries.
And my dad didn't deep fry, so that's the only way I would get that. But so good, boy. Man, a Thanksgiving dinner or holiday dinners. Yeah, good times, boy. Man, but your house would be so hot.
Well, you deal with a woman who don't have any heat receptors in her body. You keep it warm. I mean, I used to suffer in silence.
Yeah, because there's no point you complaining.
And I'll tell you, all these fancy houses with the central heating, nothing beats the oil-based heating system. Because when it gets hot, it gets hot.
Oh, God.
Like, there was nothing you could do.
Can I tell the story about how your mom used to sit around?
No, go ahead.
It's hot.
No.
So, I'm upstate New York, and then I'm Pacific Northwest, right? So I'm not from the South. I don't know nothing from the South. So, I'm friends with Rod, and now I can come over and spend the night and stuff. And again, mom is super Southern. So mom is sitting on the couch with just her bra on. And I'm like, remember, I don't have a mom. So all I have is a dad. So I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, and she's talking to me. Do I look at her?
Oh,
what am I supposed to do, man?
Oh my god!
Man, the anxiety was palpable. Man, it was hard. I'm like, yes, ma'am. What am I supposed to do? Like, hey, man, your mom. Man, it's mom. It was crazy.
It's hot. I mean, I can tell you, it's hot.
Can we put on a t-shirt or something? I mean, oh man.
She would say if you didn't like it, you didn't have to be there. That's what she would say. So it didn't matter. You just sat there. Now she didn't do that around everybody, But Marwan was basically her son. So if she did it in front of us, she could do it in front of him. So it was no big deal. I don't think she ever did that around corn or anything, but I knew she was just comfortable around you. So it didn't really matter.
No, that was crazy, man. I remember the first time, like, I was supposed to look at you when I'm talking to you, but you don't have a shirt on. And I don't know how to process this information right now.
That's Southern folk for you.
Oh, man. You guys eating dirt. That's crazy. Did I ever end up tasting it?
Yes, you did. You tasted it, and then you act like you was going to die. Not even a big deal. I mean, I miss it now. I don't think we can even get it anymore. I think the pit that we used to get it from is finally dried up. So
what is the deal? I mean, it's like literally dirt. They would eat dirt.
No. He's saying dirt. It's actually more of a clay, and it's there.
That makes it better.
A region in Arkansas, where I'm from, in Rising, is some sort of mineral deficiency. I remember looking it up because I couldn't understand it, but I looked it up. It's a mineral deficiency, and this dirt gave it to us. And basically, we don't just dig it up and just start eating it. We actually processed it. We got it. We would immerse it in water, then bake it, immerse it in water and bake it, and then it would break up and turn to it looked like little pieces of rock and
dirt.
It wasn't dirt, and we would eat it. And so it was this ditch that you had to go and you dig it out of, but it was also snake season, so you couldn't get it every year. So when we didn't have it, we would substitute because we had such a need for it. And me and my mom, we had it real bad. So we would eat boxes of cornstarch.
What?
Yeah. We used to eat just that Argo cornstarch in the yellow box. And my mom had an actual dedicated spoon, which was a long, teaspoon that you would just eat dirt or eat cornstarch in. And then when we got the dirt, we were fine.
I mean, what would happen if you didn't eat the dirt?
Nothing would happen, but it was more of a craving than anything. So it was more of a mineral type of craving that we had. It's hard to explain, but we only called it dirt. It's not dirt. You can't just go outside, dig up a hole, and eat it. You can't do that. It's a specific type of stuff you have to do.
It looks like dirt. I think it's dirt.
I'm not going to argue
it's dirt. It's like,
I'm not going to argue this with this guy.
I'm not eating no dirt.
I'm not arguing this mess. I'm not leaving it to you.
Well, again, if you're joining us, you are watching The Conduit. I am Marwan Cameron. Today, my guest is Roderick McGrew.
Hello, all.
We're enjoying our Sunday here, having a good time. We're going to go in on our topic at some point in time. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying we're just over here being heathens. We should be at church too, but
Well,
I'll talk to the Lord later, and he'll talk to me.
My dad would say, so son, have you found a church home? Where you going? Like, nah, Dad, I haven't found one. He said, oh, so you're going to Sheetside Baptist, huh? Like, yeah, I'm going to Sheetside Baptist.
Well, my mother was a little more militant. I was just going to hell.
Oh, wow.
So I needed a church home, or if I needed to get into church, if I wasn't in church, I was going to hell.
You're just going to hell.
So, I didn't get the soft shoe on it. I just basically was condemned to hellfire and brimstone.
Wow. What was the name of your church?
Greater Glory, Church of God in Christ, off of, what was that street?
MOK, right?
MOK and Othello. Not Othello, what was that?
Holly?
No, it was further up, MOK and something. It is next to the U-Haul. If you know Seattle and MLK, you will know Greater Glory.
So, that is that church still around?
Yeah, they still operate.
When was the last time you've been there?
Shoot. When Aunt Lorraine passed away was the last time I was there.
How long ago was that?
I want to say it was 2000. Okay, because I lost Mom. I want to say it was 2018.
Oh, really? So not that long ago.
Yeah, it was early March, just before her birthday in 2018.
Does it look different?
No, it looks pretty much the same, dude. I mean, I think the only difference is he now has a glass pulpit so he can now see you while he's sitting down before he preaches. It's ridiculous.
Hey, okay, so another quick story before we go into our main thing. So I would go to his church, right? His church was all day long. So in a typical church, the pastor, he stands there and he preaches behind the pulpit. This pastor had a microphone with like 10,000 feet of cord and would walk around the whole church and grab people and talk to them.
He could walk from the front of the church to the entire back and still have slack.
Man, that was scary stuff. Well, I'm like, oh man, he's walking. Please don't come over here, man. Please don't come over here. And he would take you. You'd have to walk with him down the aisles and stuff.
And then he's talking to you in front of the church. He has done that to me a couple of times. And it just, I was so hard-headed at the time. It just made me resent going to church. I'm like, I'm just here to get the word. And much to my chagrin, I live down the street from Pastor Casey Treat's church, the Christian Faith Center. And to show you the difference in how people fellowship with God, that man, he has a church and then everybody goes home. He doesn't walk through. When he talks to you, it's out in the lobby.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then on the day of the Super Bowl, now, Marwan and I are huge football fans. The Christian Faith Center shuts down at 10 a.m. They have a 9 a.m. service, and then they shut down at 10 a.m., and then you come back for a Super Bowl party.
Really?
Yeah. Where he has like this 2,000-foot screen, and you're watching the Super Bowl, you're getting fed, and the ladies of the church are serving you.
Is this still happening?
Oh, no. Every year he has a football celebration because he's a huge football fan. And I think that's why I gravitated to his church, is because, I don't know, we can do a whole nother show about how people view religion and how they want to receive their religion. But I think that a person who identifies with you will be able to hold your attention more than a man who, because I used to resent the pastor of Greater Glory. He's a good man, and I've talked with him, and I still talk to him. And after my mom passed, he actually reached out to me, which was really cool. But I just never related to him. But strangely enough, Pastor Casey Treat, I related to, and I remember having a 10, 15-minute conversation with him in the lobby. And most of that was just talking about life, not even religion, but just life and how are things going and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess I say everyone should have their religion, but choose it for yourself. Don't be forced into it.
Even if your religion is no religion.
Well, I guess, if it's no religion, then that is your choice. I think that no one likes to be forced into anything. So,
well, you know what? Well, since you brought it up, let's go there for a minute.
Okay.
One of the things, and I think it may be somewhat relevant in our conversation today, but what I've been saying is that over time, you have seen an erosion of Black men in the church. Right.
Indeed.
That's been my experience. You're sharing that as your experience. And so, that's just what I've seen. And I've told this story, and it doesn't matter whether it's here or Seattle or Tacoma, right? That I just don't get what it is that I need from any of these churches.
Right.
And like you said, with Pastor Treat, there was just something that was inviting about it.
Mm-hmm.
That was important to you. I mean, you've had the Church in God in Christ experience where you're in church all day long. Then you have the experience of, hey, we know that these outside things are important too. So instead of making you have to choose and go away from the church, we're gonna kind of bring it here, and that's kind of been my philosophy when I was at Olympic College and doing programs there. Right? It's like, if all the resources and everything you need is here, then why wouldn't we create an environment that made you want to be here, than to drive you away from all the resources that you need?
Right.
And so, if you're having a Super Bowl party at the church, then you're around, like-minded Christian folks or whatever the religion is, right? You're having fun and fellowshipping. It's going to be clean fun because they're not just throwing around assume alcohol and
right. There's none of that stuff. F-bombs and all that stuff.
Right. And so you get to enjoy it. And again, that circle of support, that circle of influence is really positive. And so you're able to kind of, have your cake and eat it too in those situations. So I think that's really powerful and something that is missing. But, my assertion is that Black men have divested from the Black church. Many have, especially a lot of the younger ones, our age and younger. And do you see that? And what are your reasons on why you think that is?
I think for me, and I'll use Greater Glory as an example. When I was going there, just so you know, Greater Glory is a predominantly Black church. I mean, you can almost say it's exclusively a Black church, but there was always that one or two of a different race that would be there. But for sake, it was a predominantly Black church. The one thing I didn't like is when I was there, I felt like there was a hierarchy. I felt like you had this pastor who, like I just said, he had the crystal pulpit and whatnot. But before that, he's standing above you and all this stuff. And it just felt like you were underneath him. And it was, to me, it was always uncomfortable. I always felt like, I don't feel like you're connecting with me. I feel like you are directing me and just, trying to take me in your way. And I never felt like I could just talk to him. When he walked by, I felt like I had to, for lack of a better word, revere him. And I didn't like that feeling. I was like, okay, you're a man like me. I don't understand that. So I had problems a lot of times just going to a church like that. And I feel like, honestly, and I have visited other churches and the churches that are predominantly Black, honestly, I felt that way. I felt that way all the time I went there. I felt like that your Black pastor he didn't feel like a shepherd. He felt more like a CEO. And that was one of the things.
I first like to give an honor to God, to the pastor and the first lady. It just seemed like this worshiping of them, right? And don't you speak out against my pastor or the first lady. Don't you dare. Yeah, there's just an air about that. And, if you were these are stories that I've heard from a lot of men that were married in the church, where even their wives were kind of giving more deference and reverence and respect to the pastor than to their own husbands. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that is tremendously problematic, right?
It really is. And that's why you don't see the abundance of Black people going to church, is because they always feel like they're either being lorded over or getting got. And you should not feel like that coming to a house of worship. That's just my opinion. You shouldn't feel like you have to be on guard in a house of worship.
So prosperity preaching.
Yeah.
If you pay your dues, your tithes and offering.
Yeah.
I got my nice big house and my fancy car, but you suffering and can't figure out how to keep your lights on. God will provide. Have faith. I take it you agree with me because he just said, "Oh."
Yeah, it's what I see, and I used to see it all the time, and it made me very resentful of the Black church.
Well, and I, really to kind of sum it up, it really seemed like it was you worshiping the first lady and the pastor, and not God, right?
Yeah,
and that they are supposed to serve the congregation, but it seemed like it was the opposite.
Yeah, it felt like we were supposed to serve them.
Yeah. And so I think that's, those things kind of get lost as we, imitate, the dominant society, right? And we take on, their cultural norms and traditions and customs, even the Christian church, then, we can sometimes take it into a bad place.
Right.
When we are more community based. And I think what's really bad about that is, as people are reading the Bible, that are new in Christ, or questioning or wondering and investigating, researching, when they're doing that and they see that from the outside, right? Because they're coming with their perspective of, their lived experience, and they're seeing this like, well, why would I want to be a part of this? Like, this is weird. And if everybody is a sinner, and this is what it is, you've got this person calling it out, but then you have, it comes out the pastor was sleeping with this one and that one, or gambling or doing whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, at the end of the day, what gets lost is, hey, they're just people too,
right?
And it doesn't mean that they're not going to sin. They are, right? No one is free of sin. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have your vices and everything else. But because they're telling you that you're going to have damnation if you don't repent and turn away and do this and that, but then you see them doing
the exact same
stuff,
thing, yeah.
Right? Then it's like, people have no belief or faith in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I think that's what ends up being difficult, because like, well, you're coming off like a hypocrite, but you got everyone just kind of lording over you, praising you, you chastising me for my actions, but then you're doing some, pretty, what we would say from human standards, some pretty devious behavior. If you're, cheating on your, sleeping with folks in the church or doing things,
right,
like that and the other, whatever the case may be, or you're prospering and, your congregation is suffering. And I'm not saying that. I do believe that you should get compensated for it, right? I mean, it's a lot of work. I would watch my dad, prepare for a sermon, and would work on it for hours.
Yes, he would.
Researching and everything else. And, he went to seminary. And so that, he actually got a degree in theology. But there's a lot of work that goes into doing that work. And I do agree that it should be compensated. And you should, it's not like you shouldn't have a bad life and you shouldn't have to hide it. But I think it does get quite flamboyant, where
it really does.
You're looking at $200 shoes and, $1,000 suits and, the Creflo dollars. And and we're talking about the mega churches now, but I mean, even that happens here.
Even at a smaller level, you see that. I mean, I can remember times being in church and having several offerings taken up for different things. And I'm just like, 90% of your congregation live paycheck to paycheck. So you as a pastor or a shepherd or leader of your flock, you should be more aware of the situations of your congregation, and then to sit there and continually ask for money here and there. And I tell you, I'm not ashamed to say it. You're sitting there and these people take an offering, and then I've once been there where they said, they looked in the offering plates and said, "This ain't enough. Let's do it again." And I'm like, "Oh, we're done here." I mean,
this ain't enough.
Yeah. When you say that, it's scary. It's like, okay, so is this church or is this some sort of paid retreat that I'm on? It's just like, when you say this ain't enough, then it's no longer an offering. Now you're starting to extort money from your people by making them feel bad.
And the church used to be such a bastion of support and community for the Black community, and I think that has eroded. And again, we're having intellectually honest conversations. In no way are we saying all, right?
No, not at all. But it's understandable what we're saying. It's like,
well, folks that want to dismantle and can have an honest discussion would just say, well, it's not all churches. Well, my church ain't like that. Well, if your church ain't like that, we're not talking about your church.
Praise God.
We're saying that, this has been, one, our personal experience, but our experience on scores of brothers that we have talked to.
Right.
That are like, I'm not part of the church for this, that, and the other. And there are many of these same reasons. Right.
Yeah.
So to that end, I'm a type of person that we can state the problem and talk about what the problem is. What are some solutions that the Black church could do to, get folks like you and me back into the church?
I think,
if anything.
I mean, honestly, first and foremost, I think the leaders of these churches, your pastors and whatnot, need to be accessible to not only their congregation, but to their community. They have to be accessible. I find that a lot of times pastors pick and choose the causes that they want to be in front of or be out. And I think a lot of times they pass by the more needed aspects of community outreach. I think the start is, if you want to get us back, your community needs to see that you are for your community and not just for your church or even for yourself.
Ooh,
and
facts.
I'm being real. The one thing I don't ever see is outreach in the community, unless you're doing a barbecue to sell some plates or something like that. Then you want to be a part of something. I want to see my pastors in the community, asking the community, what can the church do for you? Not what can you do for my church. So I think that's the start of everything, is that your leaders have to go out and lead, not lead from afar or lead from on top of the mountain. They need to be amongst their people. And by people, I'm talking about their community. I mean, because I'm not saying that a pastor has to reach out to the world, but a pastor has to at least be accessible to their community.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had experiences where I've gone to a church and, one, they kind of giving you the side eye, who you here with? I was like, what do you mean, who am I here with? Like, welcome. Hey, so good to see you. Come on in. I'm, sister or brother such and such, yada, yada, yada. That's been my experience a lot, and it's from, from clergy on to, folks that are just sitting in the congregation. It's like, yeah, okay, I won't be coming here again. Or you get the other side of it where it's like, oh, hey, brother. And they're so starved to see a black man come into the church, a brother come into the church. It's like, hey, we meet on these days and, maybe you can get out here and help us clean this church up and do some yard work and this, that, and they're trying to put you to work. And it's like, whoa, I'm just checking the church out. What? Well, what do you do? Well, how can you use your resources to help the church? Like, whoa, okay, back off, slow down. It's like, again, want to hear the word, want to get fed. Maybe it could grow to that, but it's
just feed me first. Just feed me first.
So it's tough. So that's a lot into my experience on why I'm not, connected to any church. And then my work, causes me to, Sundays are busy for us. Like today, the team is at CenturyLink. So shout out to the team.
Go team.
Trip. They're going to the Sounders game. Again, if you want to join us, you surely can. Give us a call. We will pay for your food handler's permit, your alcohol permit. You have a lot of fun. We'll get you to the game, get you back. If you're on probation or can't leave the county, we can talk to your probation officer, write a letter if you need it so you can leave the county and have a good time, help to serve others because it's about service, and have fun and just be with other folks. And that's a good way to kind of fill in those gaps in, your soft skills, your hard skills, doing some work. They take safety very seriously at CenturyLink, or it's not even CenturyLink anymore. I'm just not going to say the new name. One, I don't remember what it is, but it's going to take a while for it to stick for me.
Yeah, they did change the name.
Yeah, they changed the name, but you got a double mask and, they turn the kiosk around and you actually, use the POS system. And then it's a cashless arena. So now it's, credit card only, and they have little ATMs where you can put your cash in and get like a credit card that's good inside the stadium. So, having a good time, getting out, people are going, stir crazy, and I want folks to be careful and be healthy. But as I was saying, when we first started this, man, there's just been so much just violence and anxiety and just folks unraveled. Mental health is just at serious lows.
It's crazy.
So people need these outlets to blow off some steam, have some fun, have a good time. The vaccine, even more so from being protected from COVID. I think there's also a mental health component to being able to get out and get back and integrate back into society and spend time with folks. I think it's tremendously important, and we're seeing the effects of this. So, man, it is just tough. Oh, Rob said it's Lumen Field. Lumen Field.
That's right.
What is Lumen?
It's a light company.
It's a light company?
Yeah.
Oh, Lumens. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that must be a hell of a light company to pay for the sponsorship to name the stadium. My goodness.
I'm thinking, though, that they probably got a pretty good sweet deal out of it, so it doesn't really matter.
Those deals are like in the tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But in a COVID-infested world, it probably got a premium for it.
Oof, man. That is crazy. So are you guys, Rob, driving around right now, or are you guys already at the stadium? So they're heading out. It's a beautiful day. The Sounders, of course, have won the chip, 2 years in a row, right?
Yes, they have.
So really a good, fun time.
Those Sounders.
Yeah, really good, fun time. Obviously, we're getting all the bugs out before Seahawks starts.
Yes, indeed.
Come now, and again, as we get closer to it, obviously priority is going to go toward people that have gone to the Sounders game and done events that they aren't as popular to go to. Everyone doesn't like Sonics. Freudian slip there, hoping for a basketball team.
It's coming.
Is it?
Oh, who knows?
Oh,
you got to stay positive
coming, but
and put it in. You got to put it out there.
Yeah, okay.
Come on, Silver. Do what you do.
Rob and team, they're leaving at 1:30 and driving around. But priority is going to go to those that did the events that weren't as exciting for those that don't like football. For those that actually want to go to football, American football, America. So. Seahawks is always crazy.
Yeah.
Man, the energy in there.
It's an unbelievable energy to be at that stadium. Win, lose, or draw. It's just.
Sounders, too, honestly. Like when it's, pre-COVID, the Sounders games were crazy, but definitely Seahawks.
Yeah, they ended up having to expand the stadium because of the demand for Sounders tickets. So it's a good watch. I mean, you don't have to be a soccer or football lover to enjoy the game, because you can get a lot of enjoyment just from the atmosphere around you. It's just a great time to be at.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a lot of fun. You're helping out, G2, of course, which also helps us to help the community, which is our purpose. So, again, especially on Sundays, right? There's no bus service on Sundays. There's not a lot to do. There's a lot of things that are closed, and it's so much easier to make unhealthy choices.
Yeah.
When the saying, "An idle mind is a devil's playground." Well, when you're isolated and there's nowhere for you to go and things to do, trouble can find you.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? So absolutely. So if you do want to join us, just give us a call, 360-373-3000. Also, we are looking for experienced framers. So we're talking about experienced in doing some high quality work. We definitely would like to talk to folks that have their tools and have some experience. We have some work coming up where we are looking to hire 10 framers actually. So again, we will put out some information. You'll see it on Facebook. We did put out an ad in Craigslist and then pull some people there. But again, if you know anyone that has framing experience and looking for work, please have them contact us so we can go ahead and interview them, have them fill out an application and see if we can't get them to work. But we are definitely expanding and growing. We still have some space for drivers. As you know, we've already brought on 2 new drivers. Shout out to Tony and Diana. They've come in and kind of filled their roles pretty naturally. It's been great. So we're doing pretty well. Obviously, we've got some other things that are going on. We're gonna, man, June and July, Rod, is gonna be bananas.
Yeah, I believe it.
We have so many things that are going on. The 1-on-1, 3-on-3 basketball tournament, which is scheduled for July 30, 31, and August 1. So that is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The flyer will be coming out for that, I believe, this week. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And some other things that I should be announcing this week coming up. And it's going to just be like, G2 is doing this and that and this and this and this. And so we're in the final steps of about 3 or 4 really, really big things that we've been working on. So yeah, please get involved. We got space for you, and it's all good. Rob says, contact us at 360-373-3000 and ask for Rob. Set up an interview for construction. Absolutely. So let me go ahead and play our theme music here because we still got to get into our topic, and we haven't even done that yet. We've been going for an hour and a half. And
this is what we do, though. We just like to touch on little things here and there, and sometimes you look up and an hour and a half has passed.
Well, I can be a tad loquacious. It's just our role. It is what it is. But this is Marwan Cameron. You're watching The Conduit. Thank you for joining us. It is Sunday. We are going to get into our topics. I want to let Rod go to the bathroom, get a snack if he needs to. We can go in if you want to go ahead and do that.
I'm actually good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm loving the flow. Let's go.
All right. We're going to go right on in, man. We're not even going to wait. Today I've got a PowerPoint as a visual aid because, man, I woke up. So let me tell you. So the way that it works is, obviously I'm looking at current events and things that are going on. And as I'm doing that, different things will pop up to talk about.
Yeah, very.
And, I'll try to talk about something that's relevant. Like we were talking about Black Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter. Last week, I do a kind of collaborative with 2x2 Studies with Reverend Ellington once a week. And so we talked about that. And then other times based on what may be going on with some of my team or clients or just something that might be relevant to their situation, I'll talk about that. So whether it's like group dynamics and communication, if there's something that I think someone should hear, then I'll kind of alter, this is a current event. We're talking about, the eviction moratorium and things like that. And I'll go and I'll talk about this off topic. Right. And so, I woke up this morning and I was telling Rod, and like I said, it's my oldest friends. I can be pretty crass, right? And if people see me with my hair down, what does that look like with my hair down? And how do people change who have hair, who actually let their hair down? Like, what happens?
I don't know where you're going with this, man. But
I just, it's just the sayings that people talk about.
Indeed.
Just let your hair down. And it was like, all of a sudden I let my hair down and I'm, just crazy. I don't know. I'm off the chain. It's like, well, when I let my hair down and I'm being pretty silly, but I was being silly serious. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it is very frustrating about the topic that we're going to get into today. And I have said, so the Conduit started in February. and it was Black History Month, and I started interviewing people, and I would have a list of questions. The first one: what does Black history mean to you? What do you think about $15 minimum wage? That was an issue back then. What do you think about homelessness, abandoned buildings? We talked about friendship and romantic relationships. What makes a good friend? What makes a good romantic relationship? What are the values and things that you look for? What do you provide? Type things like that, right? And so, kind of having these conversations, part of what I see and what I saw is a lag in the Black community in regards to supporting each other during COVID, right? I saw a lot of white organizations and other BIPOC organizations really come together and have a lot of synergy in providing for the elderly or disabled or folks that just kind of need some help, right? Or even keeping businesses open, supporting businesses so they didn't crash, right? And so just really wasn't seeing that at the level, here locally or nationally, right? And when I say locally, I don't necessarily mean just in Bremerton, but locally, Pacific Northwest type area, right? And it's like we've got to do better. We have to be more intentional. But these problems have existed, here forever, right? And this goes back to slavery and being separated and being pitted against each other, colorism, just all the different things, house slave, field slave, all these different things that have impacted us, individualistic society versus collectivism. Just all of these things have had these impacts on the Black community, prison industrial complex, and separating the Black men from the home, and then having the state, step in as dad, to provide benefits, and then saying when the man gets out, there's not a space for you because you're going to lose those benefits. Just all these things that have eroded and impacted the Black family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so what we see is we have issues. And when we talk about it all the time, where it's like, okay, you got a business and your own people don't support you. So it's like, well, the dominant society supports you more than your own Black folks support your business, right? And they come and try to, they shop with you. They advocate for you. They talk about you. They think about you when opportunities come up and tell you about opportunities and this, that, and the other. And so, this has been a long standing issue in the Black community. And then you have something like COVID where we're impacted more by it than other demographics. And it's like, so it's even more important and critical for us to be able to band together and then be able to serve each other. And again, as some evidence, what I would say is, we look at, a very small community here, and then we have, a myriad of Black churches. When if we were just one church, right, could there be, childcare? Could there be a credit union? Could there be a school? Could there be, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's all fractured. And we know that the Black dollar only circulates, the shortest amount of time before it leaves than any other demographic. So we have all these impacts and all these things that make it harder for us, but then we don't support each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there's a huge impact. That's why I wanted you to talk about the church, because I think it's relevant to our conversation.
Indeed.
And so what I've been saying on the podcast is 2020, the end of 2020 into 2021 has started to feel different. And what I meant by that is I have seen people, Black folks in particular, but people all in all, being more intentional about wanting to collaborate and work together, right?
Okay.
Not being jealous of each other, not finding ways to, do the work and support the work, but actually kind of thinking, okay, what do you do? This is what you do. This is how I can support you in doing that. And that's how it helps us, right? Versus, it's like, I do my thing and I don't know what you got going on. Don't even matter. So it feels different. And doing the podcast has been great for me because I've been meeting so many new people that I didn't know before, right? And again, this is a small county. That's 3 to 4% Black here in this county, and it's not large physically. And I'm meeting people that live within a mile and a half of me that I've never talked to. Pretty powerful and influential people with a lot of talent and skills that also love their community. And it's like, man, I don't talk with these people. I don't work with these people. They don't work with me. And, it just kind of feels different. But we do need to talk about what exists so that we can try to start to work through it. We've got to nail it down, right? And have conversations. And as I said earlier today, people will often complain, which is okay, right? You got to talk about what it is, but then you also need to be solution oriented. Okay, so you stated it, you complained about it. What are the solutions? So what I want to get into today in our discussion is 10 reasons Black people hold each other back. 10 reasons why Black people hold each other back. Now, if you're not Black, tune in because this still has relevance regardless of whether you're Black or not, right? I think these topics and talking points are relevant to everyone in one way or another. And so we have here our image of crabs in a barrel pulling each other down. So we have talked about that in the Black community a lot, right, as being a thing.
Indeed.
And so these are 10. Obviously, there could be more than 10. But I woke up today and this was on my mind and I wanted to go and talk about it. So number 1, if the saying past performance is an indicator of future behavior, then how does anyone ever get a second chance? If past performance is an indicator of future behavior, how does anyone get a second chance? We are the most forgiving race, I believe, on the planet.
I would say so.
Right? Slavery, apartheid, and I mean the planet. We're talking in the 2x2 studies about the judge in the Botham Jean case coming down out of the wherever she sits and hugging Geiger, who killed Botham Jean. The brother forgiving. We're always forgiving. We don't want violence. We forgive. We forgive. We forgive. But we don't forgive each other.
We sure don't.
Right? So we can forgive people that murder us, that kill us, that oppress us, that do all these vile things to us, that systematically destroy us. But when it comes to us, oh no, there's no second chance for you. You're done.
We are quick to cut off each other.
I mean,
for the smallest of mistakes too.
Speak on it. I mean, seriously. So what are your thoughts on this, Ron?
It's almost hurtful to watch. It's like I've seen people just forgive for whatever reason, but then your son steals $20 from your purse and you're ready to just cut all ties with them just that quick. And honestly, I don't get it. I don't get why we're so quick to forgive others, but within our own community, the first thing we want to do is cut somebody off for what we view as just an unforgivable transgression.
What I hear often is, well, you're Black, so I expect more from you, right? You should know better. And because I expect more from you, any way that I feel slighted by you, I'm really going to drop the hammer, right? Which seems so counter. We've had plenty of discussions about post-traumatic slave syndrome. We talked about. I was having a conversation with some Black leaders here in the community earlier this week, Tuesday. It was great, man. Just watching Black brothers get together and make moves. And one of the things that they were talking about was growing up in violence, right? Either gang violence or growing up in the streets, seeing violence, experiencing violence, maybe participating in violence, and the post-traumatic stress that comes from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell people that I've seen, or I've shot someone, right? I've experienced these traumatic experiences that go with me, right?
Right.
But other groups have these traumatic things that go on, and somehow, that's more understandable, right? Like with meth and the opiate crisis, right?
Mhm.
It's housing first, and we've got it's a disease. When during the Biden years, it was, we got to lock up these super predators and crack and whatever, right? Just very different ways that we were treated. And so we know that we have experienced these traumas. We don't really talk about it in respect to, and I'm an advocate for heterosexual Black men, right? I mean, that's my a big focal point for me, because all these other groups have their voices, right? Black women have their voices. The LGBT community has their voices. The LGBTQ plus community that are Black have their voices. The heterosexual Black males have been under attack from the beginning, right? And continue to be under attack. So through feminism, or down with the patriarchy and everything else that's going on, by and large, we look at majority of the Black people that are killed by police that are heterosexual Black males, right? And so these things are impacting us more, but then other groups come in, and they end up with the resources. It ends up being about them, and we still end up being vilified, and we're the bad guy. So we're experiencing these traumas, right? And now we're trying to exist in a space and grow. And would we not be expected to make mistakes, or to do something that's not right because of our traumas, right? And then even if we're doing that, it's like we can't see that the other person is suffering, and in that space, we just cut them off. But then we forgive every other group.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Almost no matter what they do to us, it's forgive. But we're not going to forgive each other, right?
It's frustrating.
And we are hard as hell on each other.
Yes, we are. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, we set a much higher standard for our people, which I don't understand why we do that. And yet the standard for others is so low, it's almost laughable.
And so for the disconnect for me is, we understand our traumas, but then we short circuit when it comes to, well, they are acting this way in large part because of their traumas, right? But now you got to go, right? But we still have these higher expectations because you're Black, and to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
All right, so that's number one. Number two, people will admit their own shortcomings, biases, and mistreatment of other people. They expect others to see that they themselves have changed, but they don't typically see how the other person has changed, right? And so here, I put as the image, when someone is trying to change their ways, the worst thing you can do is keep bringing up their past, right? And so there are a myriad of stories where people are speaking down, being condescending to, tearing them down in open forums, to the dominant society, and saying, you know what, because of what you did, not who you are, what you did, right? See, everyone else gets that grace,
right?
I'm not the thing that I did, right? I am a person who did something bad in the past, right, or whatever it is, right? But that's not who I am. And so the PC were very we will cancel people if they don't speak about people in the right term, right?
Right.
That's offensive in itself, right? How dare you? But when we change, right, we want people to see that we've changed, but somehow, we expect, that others, should see it in us, but we can't see it in them.
It's frustrating because as a people, we want to shine together. We want to celebrate our advances, but we are so busy looking at, oh, well, I remember when you used to do this. There's no way you could be this person now. You're already scrutinizing me for something that I have of a mistake I've made, come to terms with, and moved on from. But why is it that you are still on my mistake? I don't get that. Why do people live in other people's mistakes but never walk the journey with them? I don't know.
Right. Candy, shout out to Candy. She says forgiveness is everything. Yeah, it really is important. And, again, what's so ironic about it is we go through changing, right? And that's why I tell the stories about my past, right? Mm-hmm. My shortcomings, the issues that I've had with people, the leadership podcast that I did that's on YouTube. You can go and take a look at that, where I said, hey, I was holding my own biases and issues against someone. And what's worse is I'm in a leadership position. So people are going to follow my lead. And if I've got an issue with that person, then by proxy, they're going to have an issue with that person typically, right? And so that is not healthy. So I needed to be public about that was my shortcoming. I realize it. I'm changing it. I'm calling it out, and I'm going to change that behavior. We don't typically do that, right? We just say, hey, well, I've changed. You need to see it. And, I can't, I'm not really looking for the change. I can't.
Right. I'm not worried about that. I want you to see that I've changed.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre, right? And then a lot of times also when people admit, their shortcomings, their biases, and their mistreatment, sometimes it's almost as a blasé statement just to state it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I admit I used to be this person, that person. I'm not that anymore. And then they just, they've laid that little groundwork, and then they can go on and really said anything really tangible or specific on, how that is and what they're doing differently now, right?
Right.
But it's just kind of the statement. And then, okay, so, I admit I'm not perfect, but da sty in your eye. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important that we are more humble,
right,
in that respect, and are able to say, hey, you know what? It more than just speaking in generalities of what my shortcomings and biases are on how I view people or how I've treated people. This is specifically some of the things that I've done to dismantle, us moving forward as a people or a community or working within the community. And these are the things that I'm going to try to do to dismantle my own issues. And then I'm also going to be a little bit more intentional on looking and seeing how judging you for who you are and not what you did. Mm-hmm. What are you doing right now? Right. That's more relevant than what you did to somebody a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Right. I ask people kind of like with the vaccine. So if someone is changing, how long do they have to show you that they've made a change? 6 months, a year, 2 years, right? How long do they have to show you that they're not the person that they were before?
Yeah.
Before you're like, okay, I'm with you now.
It's almost as if you have to continually prove you're changing.
Well, you got to continue to prove it, but the goalpost is different for everyone, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be. But I mean, Ed, it's like you say, what point do you see that the changes are happening? When do you accept that the changes are happening? That's the problem. It's like we tend to be in perpetual wait. I just want to wait and wait and wait and wait.
See. I'm gonna wait and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's tough. And I don't think we often really, stop and really think about it. It's like, okay, this person is saying, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like a more personal relationship, right? Like a friendship or a business partnership or whatever. But, we say, okay, well, this person is saying that they're different. Well, they're going to have to prove it. But what does that mean? Like what goal, what marker are they trying to hit to prove it to you, right? If you haven't defined it, then how is that person ever going to know? And it can't be well, I know it when I see it type.
No,
thing,
you
right?
can't do that. No.
So are you congruent for 3 months, 6 months? Is that when I'm able to say, okay, yes, you've changed? Am I able to say, hey, you know what? You are changing, but during your change, you are likely to fall down at some point in time because you're human. And so it just depends on the level, the degree to which you fall down, how bad is the thing that it is that you do when it may inevitably happen, depending on what the situation is, right? We don't have, there's no communication there. There's no signpost. So no one knows how to achieve that, right? When does that happen? And then even if you do create that, doesn't make sense. If I say to you, hey, Rod, you did this to me, and so for the next year, you got to show me this, right? Is it relevant? Is it fair? Does that?
Yeah. How do you say, well, a year is the marker that I need to know change? That's crazy. How do you quantify that?
And let me say, there are a lot of folks in the Black community that end up incarcerated, right, for one reason or another. And we know that oftentimes we're overcharged. Our sentences are longer.
Right.
And so as we try to reintegrate into society, as if we've ever been integrated, it's like, oh, now it's hard for you to find a job. Or maybe you can't get financial aid because you were selling drugs, right? It's hard for you to get housing or whatever the case may be. So when have you paid your penance? When are you paid up? When is your ledger clear so that you can move on? We already know how damaging it is from our judicial system, but it is even more damaging when we're facing that, and then we're facing that with our own people too, right? So we always stay incarcerated, so to speak, within the own Black community because there's no way for us to move through and through past it in a space that is agreed upon. You know what I mean? Nobody knows. It's a year for you. It's 6 months for this person. It's, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You need to do this, that, and the other for however long. And so nobody knows. And we have the power, right, to find those things and say, hey, look, you make this mistake. There's a penance that you have to pay for it. But once you have paid for it, then you're done. I mean, that's what we're advocating for now, right? You go to jail, you get out, you've paid your restitution, whatever. You should get your rights back, right? You should be able to vote. You should be able to have your firearms back, right? Whatever the case may be. So we're advocating for it on from a judicial space, but we're not advocating on it from our own people space. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's a huge issue. So that's number 2. Number 3, instead of supporting Black businesses and people, they create their own. I see this a lot where, there are businesses that exist out there, and for whatever the reasons are, we'll get into some of those as we go forward. It's like, you know what? Nah, I'll just go ahead and just create my own business. Well, you already got your thing, right? So why would you go and create something counter to what somebody else is already doing? Why not just support that, right? Again, our dollars leave so quickly, right? And we don't invest in ourselves, which is a huge issue. But then we're not even gonna, support our own businesses and our own people, right? It's like, I'm not with that. I can do it better, right? I'm gonna lay judgment on what you do and how you do it, and I'm just gonna usurp that, and I find that to be really destructive. What are your thoughts on that, Rob?
I think that the problem is that a lot of times in the Black community, we have the mentality that we don't want to see someone succeed more than ourselves. And so, they got this thing. It seems to be working. Well, let me do it, make it better, get my piece of it. And whatever happens to them, happens to them. That's the problem, is that we need to stop trying to one up each other. We need to start just getting behind. This person creates this business. Cool. Let's everybody get behind this. I don't need to create another one, and then another person creates another one, and then another person, because now we done diluted what this man has created, and now we done tore him down just so that we.
Anything like
No,
that.
they weren't.
That wasn't even on your mind.
Then all of a sudden someone does it, is doing well by it, but we can't stand to see that. So nope, I'm gonna get in on this too. When you don't have to. There's an already established business that we could put all of our efforts and energy behind to make that successful, instead of having 18 more pop up and just diluting what this one man did.
And I see that a lot in this. In again, when I talk about the community, I don't necessarily mean Kitsap, and I don't necessarily mean just Kitsap, right? But again, I'll talk about the churches, right? There are several of them, and we've got to pool our money and our resources. And we know that the dominant society, they earn more, and they're able to give more and support on a higher level. And so for many of us that are living check to check or worse, we're not able to support in that way. But if there were more of us there and we value the collective more, then we can pull those things together. Even if, let's say, the 4, 5, 6, however many of the Black churches that are here are like, look, you know what? Everyone doesn't have to come to this particular congregation, but we're going to pool all these resources here, and we're going to start a school, or we're going to start a credit union, or we're going to start a daycare, right? And so people aren't going to have to pay, $1,200 a month or $1,400 a month for childcare. You're going to be able to save that money and get ahead. You're going to be able to, take that class, right, so that you can get that certificate or a degree, right? Because you're trying to, build yourself so that you can have more of a livable wage for you and your family. We're going to teach your kids, true history, right? And I would say American history, true American history, because Black history is American history, but true history, teach you things that are important, financial literacy, which is key, right? And we're going to value some other things and then support that. But we don't do that. Instead, we have folks that are like, well, I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're doing it, and I ain't really feeling you, so I'll create it myself, right? And then I'm going to pull people, and then we're going to go ahead and support that, instead of saying, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and support you in what it is that you're doing, and to help build you up, right? Instead of it being a negative. So that's number 3. Number 4, can't support because they don't do it the right way, i.e. my way. It's my way or the highway. This kind of goes along with number 3 on why reasons why people won't support a person or an organization, right, or their business and the products and services that they offer. And, I hear this all the time, right? Well, you're doing it wrong. You need to do it this way. And it's so hard for me and frustrating to hear that, because people have their dreams, right? They have their ideas of what they want to do. It's their passion. It's how they want to give back. And they're kind of putting that out there, and they're immediately criticized and kind of torn asunder because that's not how that person would do it. Well, this is what you should do You should be doing it that way. Why are you doing that? That's stupid. That doesn't even make any sense. It's like, man, this is my dream. This is what I felt, I could give back or whatever. And I'm trying to fill a void. And it's like, you're just in here immediately in a critical fashion. That's not really helpful. You know what I'm saying?
And that's my thing. It's like, you don't have to agree with what somebody does or how they do it, but you can definitely support them in silence. If you don't support it, that's fine. But don't spend your waking hours tearing it down. You can just not agree with what they do, but you don't have to be vocal about, oh, you're doing it wrong, or this is the better way, and I bet if I did it, it would work. I mean, sometimes just be quiet and let them do what they do, and that's in itself a form of supporting them because you're not trying to tear them down.
Yeah, and I guess what I'd add to it is, if you're gonna speak on it, because you don't. If I have broccoli in my teeth, I want you to tell me that I have broccoli in my teeth. But in the same respect, if I'm trying to do something, telling me everything that I'm doing wrong or what I should already do, you don't know what I've considered, what I haven't considered. And just coming at a person that way is just really off-putting. And it's like, okay, so the spirit in which you're coming at me is not a spirit of support and building me up, right? I think there's framing is important. I would, when I was teaching over at Olympic College, I taught communications, business communications. And in part of that, framing was one of the principles of communication from a business aspect that I taught. And basically what that was how do you express a concern or a need in a way that was going to be conducive to positive change, right? That wasn't going to turn the person off. That wasn't going to insult them or offend them. And so that's it. It's how you say it, not that you don't say it, but how you say it is so critically important. And so I see that a lot where it's like, well, you can't do this because this doesn't make any sense, and this is stupid, and this is this and that, and I wouldn't have done that, And it's like, look, I'm trying to do something, or I've been doing this for this long, right? You weren't here when I started this thing, so thanks, Peanut Gallery for a Monday morning quarterback for jumping in here now. But if you are trying to help me, there is a way that you can frame it, right? In a way where it can be receptive and maybe helpful to me. But at the same time, you also kind of need to know more about it before you just go off and just criticize it right from the gate, right? And so I see that a lot in the Black community. It's like, hey, man, they're doing that all wrong. I can't support any of that, right? When if you did support it, actually, you might end up, if they were truly doing something wrong, you might end up being able to influence that support to do it. A lot of times they're doing it wrong because of lack of funding, a lack of personnel, a lack of support, and so they're doing the very best they can with the resources that they have available to them. And it's very likely they'd love to be able to do it a different way, but this is what it took for us to get to this point or enter this space or whatever. And so, I just think that is so critical and such a big issue. Anything else you want to add on that?
No, that sounds good.
Right. All right. So that is number 4. Number 5. Whew, I'm sure some of you can relate to this. So-and-so say you have issues, so I'm not going to be a part of that. This one is really a big one. I hate for someone to tell me, I might ask you what you thought about a movie, but that is not going to influence whether or not I go and see the movie, right? If it's something that I find interesting, I might ask you what you think about it, but I'm still going. What often happens is people will ask, hey, how do you feel about a movie? Oh, it wasn't any good. All right, I ain't going to go see it. oh man, that was awesome. I need to go see it. Okay, I'm there. And they do that with people and businesses also. And, it's like, oh, so what do you think about this person or this organization? Oh man, I got a problem with them. They did this, or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, so and so said that, so I ain't down with that. And you don't know what their personal bias is, what issues they could have had,
Right.
the hearsay that goes on. For those of us that have been business owners, right, and have either sold products or services, I will tell you, I'm not a firm believer of the customer is always right. But, people do have, bad experiences for whatever the reason, right? Their perceived experience or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a thing that there was a failed product or service and it wasn't rectified in a way that made them happy, or it wasn't fast enough, or it wasn't friendly enough, or the customer service wasn't great, or whatever. Or you've got a personal issue with that person. So now you can't, you're not going to use that product or service because of that person. What are your thoughts on that, Rod?
I guess
Exhaustion, huh?
Yeah, it's just, I've always said, and I'll speak as far as the vaccine goes, because I have a lot of people who didn't want to take it. So when they asked me what I thought about it, I would tell them my experience, what I thought about it. And then I would end it with, but you should decide for yourself. This is my individual experience with said thing. A lot of times we tend to take our experience and we will pass that as this is the way that this person or this organization is all the time. When, just like you said, some people have good experience, some people have bad experiences. But we go up and say, nah, don't deal with that dude because such and such. Well, did that happen to more than one person? Is this a habitual thing? These are the questions that you need to ask instead of just immediately taking that one statement and making it blanket for that whole organization or that person. And it's difficult.
And again, it could be, lack of resources, right, or personnel or something like that.
There could be valid and legitimate reasons, but people come at you with such venom about a person or an organization. You're just like, well, damn. Is it really that way? Or are you just upset because it didn't go your way? So right. I don't know.
Right. And that kind of goes back to the, the post-traumatic, slave syndrome, mm-hmm, or having the trauma from the past experiences and our domestication and our lived experiences. Again, if we understand that, which we can articulate that in regards to ourselves and kind of more, generally with other folks, then why are we not able to see that and apply it to folks, in business or organizations, right? We know that we don't typically have the same level of resources at our disposal. And resources, what I mean by that is a lot of Black entrepreneurs, like don't know where to get grants, don't know how to incorporate, don't know if they should be a sole proprietor or an LLC or, operate as a nonprofit, right? Don't know how to, do bookkeeping, don't have networks and things of that nature. So there's so many things that are out there that they don't know, right? That it can come off as, well, this person has a bad experience and now, hey, so-and-so says, they don't mess with them because this wasn't together, right? And they're literally trying to do the best they can with what they have. And we are not giving and extending grace, understanding all of the issues that we deal with.
Right.
And so instead, we don't support. So that was number 5. We got 5 more. Number 6, will not go out of their way to meet, help, or support people they don't know. So this is another huge one. And, I have definitely been, guilty of this. I've been guilty of a lot of these on here at one point or other in my life. But, there are Black businesses. There are people out here that are doing good work. And unfortunately, fortunately for me, doing the Conduit, I'm starting to meet these people, which is just fantastic. It's like, oh man, I didn't know that. You're a musician, or you're a producer, or you're this, that, and the other. You're going to start this business, or you teach financial literacy. Just all these cool things that people in our community are doing that I had no idea, right? But I'm only knowing it because I'm now extending myself out to them, right? I'm not waiting for them to come to me and just say, well, I'm here. If you come, I'm here. I'm actually going out and trying to seek them.
Right.
If I need merchandise done, or any kind of, like clothing with our logo on it, well, I'll look and see, there's some Black businesses that can do that. Though you got Unique Designs on Callow. Maybe I need a hairstylist or something like that. I mean, that's just an example. Clearly, I don't need a hairstylist, but I'll look and see and have conversations with folks and see, can I find someone in the community that does that, and then see if I can support that. And it may not be in exactly the way that I may need it. Now, some things may need to be exact, but at the end of the day, you got McDonald's, you got Burger King. And they're close enough that it's like, the McDonald's fries are better, but I'm going to go ahead and support Burger King because I'm trying to, support the community. You know what I'm saying? Right. Burgers are both good. It's a little bit different, might cost a little bit more, whatever the case may be, right? However, it's kind of different in that way. But I'm going to go out and seek to support, right? And it's like, oh, well, I don't know nothing about it. So, I mean, if they come and they got something that I want to, that is useful to me, then I'll go ahead and support it. And oftentimes they do, right? And you hear it all the time. It's like, oh, I'm going to go, I want Chinese food tonight, or I want Mexican food, or I want, whatever the case may be. And it's like, well, what about, are there any Black restaurants that have some of this food? And again, that's different when you have a taste for something.
Right.
But it's like, hey, we're going to go out to eat tonight. We're going to be intentional on supporting, our community.
Right.
That way, right? Like for us, we have transportation. It's more convenient to call an Uber because they've got an app and they can do this and that. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and support G2. They're doing good stuff in the community. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think that's a great example.
Right. I think that's fantastic. No, I think that's a great example, because I think a lot of times what people get stuck in is routine. And sometimes you got to shake that routine and see something different. And it doesn't change anything to support. It doesn't change anything. Like you said, the McDonald's versus Burger King. McDonald's will always be McDonald's. Burger King will always be Burger King. So that day when you say, I think I'm going to support Burger King, it doesn't change anything. You've just made a choice to support your community, support your people. And I think we have to get away from the fact that we're comfortable in routine. And you need to get out there and meet. So you've never heard of this such and such business, this Black owned business. Go there. Even if you don't buy anything, see what they're about, hear their story, do whatever, and then make the decision instead of saying, oh, I don't know. I don't know anyone there. I'll just go to this place. I think that you have to shake off routine every now and then and start doing the things that make you a little uncomfortable or may seem a little foreign or strange, but support. Go and at least give them an eyeball. Don't just throw them away because you don't know something or don't know anything about them or don't know anybody there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important. We got to get out there and get to know who's doing what. And I see that there's a couple apps here on Facebook that are trying to do just that, which is great to see. But being more intentional.
Right.
And so with the folks that I've met, I've tried to, promote them here. And it's not like, hey, you know what? I'm going to charge you to promote you. I can shout you out. All right, number 7. Expect deals, discounts, and hookups from Black businesses.
Oh, my goodness.
Or don't value products and services offered, even if superior.
I'm sorry for lamenting right through your read, but this is one that is just...
Go ahead. You go on in first. You're already there.
Man, let me tell you, people think that, if you go to a McDonald's or something, there's a Black person that you get a deal. It's not just exclusive to retail. I work in a hospital, and this applies there as well, because I've had patients who will ask a nurse something. They'll get a rejection or maybe not the answer they want to hear. And they'll come to me, and it's always, hey, brother. Now I'm their brother. Now this is my place of business, but now I'm their brother. And they'll ask me the same thing, and they give me this look like, hey, we're both Black, so you should be able to do this for me. This is the most frustrating thing that of all the 10 that we have, I think this one affects me the most, because I get tired of being seen. You're not asking me for help because of my medical knowledge or my ability to do the job. You're asking me for help because I'm Black. I didn't go to school because I was Black. I didn't graduate and become a personnel in the medical field because I'm Black. I did it because of the job I'm able to do. The hookup culture is such a big deal to me. It bothers me that we live like that. It bothers me.
There's a lot to unpack on this one. For me, and I'll speak personally on this one. When I started G2, I had a few core people that believed in what I was doing and what I wanted to do. And so, I'm not going to be deterred. If you want to, be here and help and support, then, great. If you don't, then great. But that's not going to keep me from doing it. And I'm going to continue to go forward. So I know that, where my levers of support are. And oftentimes, you'll see that you have more support from the dominant society in some ways than you do from your own folks, which is, it's upsetting. And so, I mean, we've had, and not just, the Black community, but we'll get this all the time. It's like, well, I'll use your transportation service. Well, how much is it? And you say, okay, well, it's $20, let's say round trip, right? Well, it's like, all right, so in a cab or an Uber, it would be $40 one way, right? And they're not waiting on you, and it's going to be $40 back the other way. And they're still like, man, can you like do it for 10?
Oh,
man, you should be doing it for free. You should be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, so, okay, how exactly are we supposed to stay in business if we're giving you discounts constantly and giving it to you for free, right? You're not getting that from the other places that you go to. You're paying full price and oftentimes paying more than what it's worth.
Yeah.
And you're getting a premium in value and service. And it's like, nah, I need you to give me a discount. But yeah, you know what? I'm going to just keep on using this cab company or Uber or whatever for this, that, and the other, right? And then all of a sudden, they can be as critical as they want to be in regards to, maybe the service that they receive, right? And so now we're supposed to, kiss your feet, suck your toes, at the same time of giving it to you for damn near free when, someone in a cab or Uber, can feel the way that they feel about you oftentimes, and you're paying, double or triple the price. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that because there's just no way, right? The crab's in the barrel.
Yeah, indeed. And it's like, and you're going to review me based on the fact that I didn't cut you a deal or didn't hook you up. So now all of a sudden I'm a horrible company to go to. This company didn't take care of my needs, so on and so forth. No, what I didn't do was give you the black discount. And so now all of a sudden I'm horrible. And then you're going to go back to the other service that was going to charge you more anyway and won't even bother entertaining any talk about a discount. You're going to pay what you're going to pay, and that's it. But because it's me, now all of a sudden I have to give you a discount.
Well, typically you won't even ask for the discount, right? You know it. You don't,
because you know you're not going to get that.
It's not coming. You're just paying.
But it's me, and so now you're just like, oh, come on, brother. You should be wanting to do this for free. You should want to hook me up. Why? Why do I want to do that?
And you know what what makes that so difficult is, again, we're stating the problem, right? And we'll get into the solutions. But, some of these things, will even feel contradictory as you're experiencing them, right? So it's like, okay, so you have this expectation that there should be this deal just because, and you're not providing the service, right? Or product for free or substantially discounted or whatever. The fact that you're, for me, it's okay to barter and try to negotiate, price. But again, you're not thinking about doing that with other entities,
right?
And or, you're willing to, promote, organizations, programs, people that aren't even in your community. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you will, I'll watch folks that will just, sing the praises of someone in other groups, and it's like, wow. I mean, you don't even have a half a kind thought to say about someone in your
passing
own
word.
It's kind of crazy. It's like the crab in the barrel picture from the
dude. This is my one, man. This is my one.
So yeah, this one is a tough one. I've had so many discussions with folks on why they feel like there's a sense of entitlement on getting a deal or a discount. Folks not understanding, what it costs, that oftentimes we're probably offering a discount anyway, because that's what it has taken for us to compete, is we have to come in substantially cheaper so that people will use us in the first place, right? Because they're not going to see the inherent value or just say, hey, we're going to pick you over, another company, right? And we can think about, FUBU or some of our other organizations that, for a while are the staple and the best thing since sliced bread, but then eventually it's just going to fall back to Nike and some of them.
Right.
So it's just going to fizzle out after a while. So that was number 7. Number 8, recognize and speak about the issues in Black society, but don't actively work to change it. So if we were to go over the 10 and say, hey, thanks for joining us, and that was it.
All right. Well, I'm glad you appreciated our complaints. Goodbye.
Yeah, that would be us. I see this all the time where, folks, they have their third eye open as the image is suggesting here. And they know about the issues in Black society. They know about post-traumatic slave syndrome. They know about the traumas that we've experienced, right? And even with that, again, every other group is able to say, hey, this is what we experience, and we need help, and we need this, and we need that because of our lived experience, and this is what it was. And then when we say it or we bring it up, oh, well, you just need to stop complaining about it, right? The buffer class doesn't have those issues. Look, he or she is out here doing this and that, so just go out and just do what you got to do. Why are you complaining? Why are you bringing it up, right? And oftentimes, a lot, I see people who are cognizant, that are aware that this is the case, but then aren't actively working to change it, right? So they know that, the things that I'm saying, right? People may not have the resources or the support to run their organization the way that they would like to, or sell their product or service, or do whatever it is that they're trying to do, or make mistakes, or do something that people don't like. Going back a few questions back, where it's like, I'm not going to support you because you're not doing it my way, right? And so, understanding that their lived experience, they're doing the best that they can with what they have, and they're trying to go forward and be productive and give back, and carve out their own niche. But it's like, all of a sudden you can't see that now, right? So you preach about it and you talk about it. You're aware of all these Black issues. They apply to you, but they don't apply to the person that you're being critical on, and you can't seem to give that person grace and understand the space that they're in, right? And the fact that, hey, you know what? These folks might be lost, but how do you get them out of the wilderness? And how is it that you're actually, again, going to punish them worse than, society is going to punish them? What are your thoughts on this here?
All right. So for this one, it's like, the one thing that is the most counterproductive of anything is to complain about something and then do not actively try to change it. Mm-hmm. What is then why are you complaining? If you come up with a complaint, that's a valid complaint. Okay, cool. What do you think we should do about it? I don't know. Okay, but you're complaining about it. This seems to bother you. Have you thought about ways that this can change? I don't know. I mean, you can complain. You have that actual right. You can complain. But then you've made your complaint. Now, how do we make it better? What do we do to make it better? You have to have that follow up. You can't just drop a complaint on me and then walk away. It's like Marwan said, we're going to give you these 10 things that we're going through, and then we're just going to cut the podcast off. We're done. Thank you, everybody. There you go. But you have to have those conversations. Okay, we have now identified the issues. What do we do next? What do we do to start to resolve these issues?
And what are those tangible things? People should be able to articulate what they're doing to dismantle, the issues as they stand. I think that's really important.
Yeah, indeed.
Number 9, we all just get along, but you get along with no one. This kind of goes along with number 8, where, I know a lot of people, right? Work with a lot of folks. And sometimes when people are seeing issues everywhere they go, everyone is wrong. Everyone is doing it wrong. This person isn't congruent. At some point, you might need to look in the mirror.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the problem isn't the other people. The problem's you. Is it you? Because you have taken all of these other people and they're never right. They can't, they're not doing what they need to do. But then you have to think, why is everyone wrong but me? And then you have to think, is it me who's wrong?
It's unfortunate because, again, it's damaging. And oftentimes people don't realize they're doing it, right? Where they're constantly being critical and tearing folks or systems down. And, this is why this doesn't work, or this is stupid, or this person, this, that, and the other. And it's like, you're in a really powerful position, again, which is why I did the podcast on leadership. You're in a really powerful position. So for you to speak out in that way, right? And oftentimes this person is just meeting or hearing about this person or inquiring, I want to work with this person. What are your thoughts? Oh, this person is this, that, and the other. Well, you've already destroyed this person. And who knows where they're in that process, right? And again, that was your experience with them. And again, we understand, or we say we understand our flaws and our traumas and whatnot, but then we don't extend the grace. And what we do is we destroy that person before that person even meets the person that they're being destroyed against, right? And this is kind of the stuff that happens in the dominant society. This is the house slave and the field slave, right? This is the meritorious manumissions. And so, you're going to get rewarded for destroying your fellow brother or sister instead of finding ways to build them up. And I think it goes back to what you were saying. And what I would say again as a counter to that is what will happen a lot of times in our community is people, their silence almost speaks louder than their voice, right?
Okay.
So you can look and you can see who supports who. It's very visible on Facebook in the community. We know the circles, right? And so if you don't support anything that person does, but they can see your support over here in a like or a comment or whatever the case may be, you're speaking volumes.
Indeed.
Right? And so that tells folks, and you can say, well, you know what, there's just no time to, like and put up, all of that. And that's true, right? I mean, there are feeds. I miss birthdays. I miss, the news story because I've got thousands of contacts on Facebook. And so I am going to miss it. So honestly, if I don't see it when I'm looking at the phone or it's not in I give myself like 5 minutes or so every now and then just to kind of scroll through. If it's not within that 5-minute period, then I'm going to miss it,
right.
And that's just the truth. But the silence speaks volumes when there's never that support that is there, right? And it's like, oh, I'm going along to get along, but I don't get along with anyone. And then you're full throated typically about your disdain about a company or a person, right? It's palpable. So I think that's really harmful. And I think a lot of people may look at what you were saying is like, well, the adage of you don't have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all, where they actually can be damaging. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you want to kind of jump in there on that?
Oh, no, I get that point. But I mean, I just feel like sometimes even when then you say, okay, I'm going to go with the spirit of trying to help, it still comes off as, critical. And I think it's like you said, you have to learn how to, approach somebody in the spirit of helping and word your stuff in a constructive manner and not a critical manner. So if you don't feel like somebody's doing something the right way, you don't try to teach them your way. Maybe you identify, okay, what are you seeing? And then here's what I see. What do you think about this? Instead of saying, oh, you're doing it wrong, you should do it this way. So I don't know. For me, it's like, okay, if you don't have the ability to constructively criticize somebody, I just feel like you shouldn't even try. You shouldn't even say anything because you're going to come off as critical and maybe even bitter.
I feel you. Absolutely right. And like I said, these conversations are designed to be nuanced, right?
Right.
There isn't one way to look at and have perspectives on things, and dialogue is important to uncover that and to grow.
And I think that's a good place to start. Is sometimes you just have to sit down and talk. Let's not even criticize. Let's just talk. I mean, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're doing. And I mean, here are my experiences. I mean, we need to talk with each other more. It goes back to that stop being strangers. Talk to people. You can learn so much just by listening.
And can find a way to support, oftentimes, like in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I have been providing, like free consultation for a lot of folks, things where I used to, charge people, up to, $150 an hour for consultation, and providing those services for free, just because, it's like, look, I want to see you do good. And it's not to devalue my services because if you would go to another consultant, you would pay it without thought.
Right.
But, just wanting to be helpful and try to help out and try to make a difference for them, right? Like, okay, this is what you need. These are your questions. These are your issues. Here are some things for you to consider. Ask you some critical questions to get you thinking. So, you can start critically thinking and being able to answer these questions for yourself and process through these things. And then hopefully it's, added benefit to you. So that's number 9. And our last one, I'm willing to work with anyone who's willing to work with me if they reach out to me. So you got them alligator arms, right? So again, this I see this in folks a lot who are conscious, that are out here doing a lot of good work, right? You have to go to them. They're not going to, and oftentimes they're in better positions than you are, right?
Right.
They may be bigger organizations, more efficiently ran, more resources, even if they're smaller. And it's like, well, I wouldn't mind working with this person, but they haven't contacted me. They haven't told me what they needed. They haven't. And it's like, so why does everyone always have to come to you and often on bended knee for you to want to try to help them, right? So again, you're so critical. You see the issues. Why not just go and offer your help? Here's like I said, framing is important. Here is something that I see in your business that might help you. Here's what I'm willing to help you with. This is what I can do for you. Would this be valuable, and would you like that help? See, that's the framing, right? So instead of saying, you know what, man, you're doing this all wrong and you shouldn't be doing this, and why are you doing that? That's stupid. I wouldn't do it like that.
Right.
It's like, wow, thanks for the attack. Um, well, what would you do? Are you ever gonna tell me what you would do? And is that something you're gonna help me with? Is it even something that you think that I can actually do? You might have given me a solution that cost me $15,000 and I don't have it. You might have given me a solution that requires me to have 3 more employees and I don't have it. So I can't do that. So again, I'm willing to work with you. If you come and you reach out, but you better reach out. My arms are so short here, man, I see that oftentimes. And it's one of the reasons why I've been offering, my time so much lately, to try to give advice and counsel, entrepreneurs and, help them process through their issues, just because. It's like, well, I can sit back here. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, I taught at the college, I've done this, I've done that. So if you come find me, do whatever, instead of just saying, okay, here's what it is. Oh, I'm going to take this time out. I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to talk through, what your issues are. You tell me what you see your issues are. And if you want it, I'll let you know what things I see. And then I'll provide you with some information and give you some options on how you might go forward. Right. And then you use that information and good luck. Let me know if I can help you any further. But what are your thoughts here?
I see this as a pride thing. It's like, okay, if I come to you, it makes it seem like I need you. So I want you to come to me because I want you to need me. And that's so counterproductive. It's like you could be benefiting each other. Just go to that person. You know that they have a good or service that would be beneficial to you. But you're waiting for them to come to you. Like they can read your mind. Like they can assume that you need this thing. I mean, stop trying to feel like you are the needed one and just humble yourself. Go to them and say, hey, I got this thing. You got this thing. How do we make this thing work together? I don't have to wait for you to come to me like that. I have the idea. It's in my head, but I'm waiting for you to come. I mean, that's like you taking poison and hoping the other person dies. That makes no sense. It's like you have the idea. It's in your head. Go to the person. Talk to that person. Stretch out your alligator arms as far as they'll go and grab onto that help. I mean, you sitting back, you can miss a blessing waiting for someone to come to you.
Man, that's so interesting that you said that. I tell folks all the time, our model is, for G2 is, self-sufficient, and that's going to be unique to them, right?
Right.
So we find unique ways to try to help people. within the scope of our power. And for us, we believe that for those that are struggling and trying to, work through the situations that they have going on in their life, when they're tied to giving back and volunteering and being a part of something, that they actually make their gains faster and their gains are more tangible. They're more solid, right? So as they're ascending the ladder, every step that they make is a little bit more solid, and they're less likely to fall back down or less likely to fall really far down before they have to climb back up again when they have the fall, right? And so it's counterintuitive, and it feels like, hey, you're not being selfish by helping others, but from a selfish standpoint, you helping others is going to actually feed you, right?
Right.
It can feed you spiritually. It can feed you mentally. Like if you're at concessions, you're on your feet, you're working. It can feed you physically, being around people, not being isolated, being and learning about resources that you didn't know about. You don't need them right now, but later on, hey, man, life is good right now. I'm so blessed. I'm able to pay my rent. I'm able to pay my utilities. So I didn't know anything about rental assistance or utility assistance. And then a year and a half later, all of a sudden you fall on hard times for whatever reason. But because you were helping someone else, you know about rental history, you know about utility assistance, and you know how to go about applying for it. Right? You're not scrambling now to try to figure it out. So there are so many stories that I could share about people that have been involved with G2 and how they gained, it's done different things for them based on their own testimony. When we did our 12-hour marathon for the Great Give a few Tuesdays ago in April, board members, other clients have came on, and they talked about the intangible things that G2 was doing for them that was outside of why they were there, right? And so it really is counterintuitive, but I think it's really powerful. Anything else you want to say on this one?
No, I think we've unpacked it.
All right.
Let's get into the help.
Yeah, so those are the 10 things that we see that are stifling the Black community, and again, communities in general. I mean, this is applicable to everyone.
Yes, it is.
That we see getting in people's way. But again, we want to be solution oriented. Whoops, sorry about that there. From the beginning, well, I guess since it did that, I might as well just go ahead and go over the top 10 again while we're there, right?
All right.
So number one, if saying the past performance is an indicator of future behavior, how does anyone get the second chance? Number two, people will admit their own shortcomings, biases, mistreatment of other people, and then expect others to see that they themselves have changed. Number three, instead of supporting Black businesses and people, they create their own. Number four, can't support because they don't do it the right way, i.e. my way. I'll help you if you do it my way, but other than that, I ain't got nothing for you. Number five, man, so-and-so says you have issues, so I'm not going to be a part of that. I can't support you. Number six, will not go out of their way to meet, help, or support people they don't know, right? So, hey, man, I don't know nothing about the Camerons or G2 or whatever, so, I'm good. Number seven, expect deals, discounts, and hookups from Black businesses, or don't value products and services offered, even if superior, right? So you heard, saying in the Black community, white man's ice water is colder. There's a lot of different sayings, which is why we have the water is the image there, right? And so you have to be more than perfect and cheaper and better and this and that to even get
even
mediocre levels of support, right? Number eight, recognize and speak about the issues in Black society, but don't actively work to change it. So a lot of folks are very self-aware, are very conscious of the impacts on the community, both from a community standpoint and an individualistic standpoint, but then are actually doing things to help change that, right? So they're just talking about it, they can recognize it, but somehow aren't able to extend the grace. Number nine, we all just get along, but you get along with no one. Again, that is, folks that you see in these circles that are complaining about everyone, that have something negative to say about seemingly everyone. And it's like, at some point, man, is it you? Because you got a problem with everybody. Nobody's cool. Everyone got some flaws, and you got to be the one to point it out. And then number 10, I'm willing to work with anyone who is willing to work with me, ... if they reach out to me. So, again, another issue with not extending yourself out. Oftentimes we can see some of the issues that may exist. And one of the issues is we need to be more collaborative. Right. Black dollar circulates so fast and is out of the Black community. We need to support, right? Which if you build the companies up, they can hire people, they could do other things, they can help to support. There's so many different ways we can do that. But as Rod was saying, we have to, I don't know why I keep skipping the slide, but we have to talk about solutions. And that's so important. Oh, this is why, because it got out of order there. So we came up with 5. And so the first one is ask yourself, is what I'm doing helping or is it hurting? I have a thing that I don't know where I got it from, but I use it all the time now. And I would tell students and folks that are asking for my help to put a piece of paper on the floor when they're sitting down. And periodically, just look down and read the paper. And the paper says, is what I'm doing right now serving my purpose? And so if you do that metaphorically from time to time, am I helping Black businesses? Am I helping the community? Or am I tearing it down? Am I actively looking for businesses to support? I don't really have a taste today, so I'm going to, go to the Black Barbecue Shack. I don't have I need to go for a ride somewhere, so I'm going to reach out and try to find a Black company that has transportation. Or I'm going to find a Black yard service. Or I'm going to find a Black construction worker, or I'm going to find, whatever it is, right?
Right.
Intentionally, going that extra mile to find those things. So is what I'm doing hurting or helping? And again, we have a saying, which is, it's going to escape me, benign neglect, right? And so by saying, you know what, white society does this, right? The dominant society to keep these institutions going. Benign neglect is, hey, it's not really a problem. We're not going to address it. We know that it's impacting the Black community in a negative way and it's getting worse. But we're just gonna, just kind of let it be and let it go, knowing that it's making the situation worse. If you're not actively supporting Black business and Black people, then it's benign neglect, right?
Right.
What are your thoughts on number 1?
No, I agree. I think that just standing by, well, I think it'll resolve itself and so on and so forth. No. It starts with you. It doesn't start with you thinking that somebody else is doing it. You see it. Are you helping? This is, are you, not is he, not is she. Are you helping? So you need to internalize that. Are you helping? Are you hurting? I think that it gets a little convoluted because people are just sitting there like, well, I mean, I would like to go to these places. I just can't find them. We research everything that we do in life. I mean, Google exists for that very reason. And to make the excuse that, well, I don't know this or I don't know, it's exactly that. It's just an excuse.
You're spitting facts right now, brother.
I'm just saying that when you sit there and say, well, I don't know where to go. I don't know a Black carpenter. I don't know a Black barber. I don't know a Black landscaper. It's because you didn't look.
Mm-hmm.
But when you want something, I need to find a dress. I need to find, I need to find this item. I need to find that item. You type in your little search engine, find that item, and you just go right at it. Not knowing where something is, not knowing how to get to something is not an excuse. And you in essence, even though you're not doing anything outwardly negative, you are hurting the Black community because you won't even give them the same effort you give looking for the best price for a Coach bag or something of that nature.
Hallelujah. I know it's Sunday, so Rod decided to preach. And we have this complaint all the time in the dominant society, right? So it's like, hey, well, I mean, there were just no Black applicants. And it's like, well, what did you do to search for them? Well, I mean, we put out the job posting, and we put it in the newspaper, and we put it online, and we did a nationwide search. We just didn't find any qualified people. We hear that all the time, and
yes,
we
do.
On the dominant society for that, and then we do the same damn thing, but even worse, right? And we won't even try to support, And then again, even when they do that, and they say, well, we did a nationwide search and we're looking for the best. When it always comes to you, it's something.
Right.
And maybe you guys can agree with me on this. Let's see. You apply for a job. You're not the only person that's in that position, right? Like I was a consultant for the Navy, right? And so with all these positions, they're looking for the best of the best, right? And then you get hired on, and then you realize most of the people you're working with ain't the best of the best. Yes. Average at best. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. They're average at best. But you were looking for the best of the best. So when the music stops and it stops on me, now it's got to be the best of the best. When it stops on my business or my product or service, it's got to be the best of the best. But everything else, it could be mediocre, right?
Yeah.
We complain about it all the time. Man, my McDonald's fries were cold. Every time I go to McDonald's, they don't have no apple pie. Man, the frosted shake machine is down, or the ice cream machine is down. So they're always down, not giving you good service, telling you to pull over for 15 minutes, but you keep going and you don't ask for no discount. But for a Black service, well, you're not offering me everything for free. And then, you almost need to be paying me to shop or do business with me.
Yeah.
Pay me.
My fries are cold. I'm never coming here again. That's the problem, is that we're so quick to shut each other off. But when we first started, we are so forgiving of everything else. Yeah, and I love the McDonald's. I love that analogy because it's so true. I mean, over 80 billion served. And why? Because we forgive when they mess up. But the Black barbecue place, oh, they gave me more fat than they gave me meat. I'm never coming back there. That's horrible. I mean, yeah.
So, that's number one. Ask yourself, is what I'm doing hurting or helping? And again, your benign neglect, not, being on the sidelines, not actively trying to find ways to support Black business. I
really like that, benign neglect. I mean, if that is not just the best way to describe just not helping a situation, it's just like, yeah, that's a very good way to put in that.
Well, and a lot of us are in that space, right? It's like, well, I'm not doing anything active to hurt it. And it's like, but your inaction is actually hurtful. Right?
Yeah.
We're more powerful in numbers. Number two, are my biases getting in the way? Again, we come with our own lived experience.
And that's the truth. Everybody feels a certain way about certain things. I mean, that's everybody.
And so how do you suspend your biases? How do you say, okay, and we hear all the stereotypes, right, man? You can't go to them Black businesses. You don't know when they're going to open up.
Right. They always running behind and so on and so forth.
They always going to overcharge you. They ain't giving you no discount. They got their kids there. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Other societies can have their kids at work.
Right.
I was Mayor Patty Lent, when she was the mayor, shout out to Mayor Lent, appointed me as a commissioner for the Bremerton Housing Authority, right? And the thing that I thought was so awesome is they had a person that was sitting on the board that was part of their housing, actual client. And so she was a board member. But, being low income, and being in the situation she was in, she didn't have anyone to watch her kids. So her kids were able to be in part of the board meeting. So we're buying Girl Scout cookies, they're kind of moving around the room while we're having, conversations. Sometimes it could be disruptive, but the thing was, it was trying to be accommodating to people that wouldn't normally have that opportunity.
Right.
Right. And so, that's huge. So again, other folks will make these adjustments, but it's like, okay, so you got a Black entrepreneur that has a family that needs to have their kids there because, man, I don't have the discretionary income to have my kid with, in daycare or with grandma
Right.
or with whoever, this and that. But I'm trying to run a business and I'm trying to do the best that I can. But instead, you tear me down because it doesn't look like, the machine that has all these resources and money. It's just so very frustrating. And we just tear ourselves down, right? We can't suspend our biases and try to figure out how to support. And again, if Black churches were to unite, maybe we could create some childcare spaces and some other things and financial literacy classes and all these other things that could help to support those things for us to grow. But that's a big one. So you got to check your biases, right? And understand it ain't about you. It's about them and their dream, and how do we support, our entrepreneurs and our folks to the betterment of the community. And we can jump on there. It's like, well, I'm not supporting. I don't support garbage. I don't support crap. It's like, your ass supports garbage and crap all the damn time, so I don't want to hear it.
Right.
You support inferior products and services every damn day. That you go out here and you spend dollars in dominant society. So, for you to thumb your nose up, it kind of pisses me off, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so now you're the lord of, the customer service and products. And, I can't, you just don't, it's like, wow. You know what I mean? It's crabs in a barrel.
Always.
All right. Let me get my emotions in check. Number 3, do I need to integrate myself? And I think this is the opposite of benign neglect.
Right.
It's getting involved. It's actually doing that research. We'll try to research the best price. They tell you to get 3 estimates and things like that. And it may not be that you pay the lowest. Oftentimes they tell you that you shouldn't pay the lowest.
Right.
Because the lowest might mean you're getting subpar
right.
product or service.
Right. Indeed. Yeah. So
you might not necessarily pay the highest, right? So you're looking for something in the middle. And I think that's where a lot of us are somewhere in the middle, or maybe, at the bottom as we kind of try to ascend. But again, we can support that. The more support, the better products and services they can use, because they're making more revenue. So they can use different materials, right? They can hire more staff. They can do all these different things. So how do you integrate yourself? How do you have your areas of expertise that you can counsel and provide a benefit to others, and in a, I would say, a non-critical way, in a non-defecating way? Would that be a better statement?
Yeah.
Go. What's your thoughts on number 3?
Real quick. It's like, okay, so I think a lot of people, when you say, oh, you need to get involved, they think of these like it's going to just take all the time in the world and they don't have a free time. Even the littlest of things getting involved. If you hear about, oh, this Black business is looking, for just small donations, go donate a little something, move on. You can't just sit on the sidelines and say, oh, I can't serve because I don't have time. If you look at a lot of these things that we do, we're not asking for all of your time. We're asking for what you can give. And I think that's the problem. Stop worrying about thinking that these places are asking you to give all that you have. We want you just to give anything. So get into your community. Do little things. We're not asking you to give up all your Saturdays and go to all these rallies and whatnot. What we're saying is by contributing to the community, even if it's a little bit, you're contributing. You're not just sitting there. And that's how you ingrain yourself into things, is by, hey, I got a little bit of this. I could do that for this company. I could do that for this person. Start little. And then if you want to go big, go big. But don't think that you have to go big to ingrain yourself into a cause or a situation. You can go little. These little helps too.
Yeah, absolutely. Little helps a lot. Speaking of little, Layla is listening to the podcast right now.
Miss Layla.
So shout out to my daughter, Layla. Said hi, sweetie, and Daddy loves you. She said hi, Daddy. So she is on here. Love you too. So, yeah, that's what it looks like. It really is important. We do want to provide solutions for folks and not
Right.
just be out here complaining. So number 4 is what help do they need and how can I help them? And I kind of started jumping on that one already. But when I was saying we have areas of expertise, we have knowledge that other people can benefit from. We may have resources that other people can benefit from. So, how do I access this? How do I form a business? Where might I go and look for grants? Where might I get help for this? Where might I be able to get these products? Where can I find, people that offer the products that happen to be black? All of these things. And so, what help do they need? How can you help them? Hey, you know what? I can talk about them. That doesn't cost me any money. Hey, man, if you guys need a ride, because I know that, my friend's daughter, her car is broken down. Like, hey, you know what? Call G2. They can give you a ride. It's that easy, right? That doesn't cost you anything. You've helped them out. You know you're going to save them some money. So what help do they need and how can you help them? That is a way that you can do that. Go ahead, jump in there.
No, I think that's beautiful. I think that you have to be willing to share this information. And it goes back to the whole don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to be the one to initiate. Okay, hey, you have this need. Guess what? I heard of this company that does A, B, and C. You should give them a call. And look at that. You done help this person. They get a resource that they need, and all it cost you was a few words out of your mouth. You have to be willing to share the knowledge that you have because you have it for a reason. You don't have to hoard it or just give it to people in your circle because you just never know who needs something. And then you know of these valuable resources that these people can use, but you're sitting on them because you don't want to talk to this person. You don't know this person. Oh, I don't know who that is. They'll have to figure it out. No, touch somebody. Get to them. Let them know that the resources are out there and help. You can help. And when people you hear the word help, and the first thing people think is monetary or whatnot. Nah, you have, like you said, you have knowledge of a situation. You have a resource. Extend your resources to others who can use them.
And that really is critically important, right? Word of mouth, is a super huge marketing tool. One of the things that I would teach in marketing and sales was how much different activities cost, right? So you can pay for marketing or advertising, but word of mouth is free, and it's the most powerful because if you tell someone that really respects you, man, you need to go with this company, they're more likely to take your advice than to hear it from a stranger or to even see a cold advertisement for it.
Right. And then they'll take that same information and tell someone that respects them. And then it's just this little snowball thing. And all it cost you was the words out your mouth.
Did you sit in my class?
I'm pretty sure I didn't.
I'm just like, well, I mean, you going into the next chapter. Go ahead. Number 5. Am I genuine with my help and concerns? You came up with this one, so I'm gonna let you go first
sir.
on this one.
So the one thing that I know that a lot of people will do is they'll offer the help, but for self-gratification, so that they can sit and say, well, I helped you, so you should be thankful. Or I have something that you need, so I'm going to give it to you out the quote unquote goodness of my heart. To serve, to be of help is the most self-sacrificing and non-selfish act you can do. And if you have something, don't lord it over a person to make yourself feel better. Help with the ideal that what I'm doing is going to better you or better this organization or better this situation. Not because I want the limelight and I want people to be like, well, oh, so G2, I'm with G2 and we help people. And so you should use us. No, I'm with G2. How can we help? What can we do? And then here's a service that we provide. You have to be genuine. You have to be about what you're doing, and it has to be your mission and not your reward.
Ooh, your mission and not your reward. I like that. What I'll say about are you being genuine with your help and your concerns is, to go along with that being genuine means that you're being intentional, right? Again, as I said, you're looking for those ways to support those businesses, products, and services that they offer, or the individuals as they are through the planning stages of trying to do something. And this, this goes beyond just business and entrepreneurship, but are you intentional about it? Are you trying to seek that out? And I'm not saying that you need to now all of a sudden do 20 hours a week of volunteer work and try to figure those things out, but you can make it part of, be purposeful in it, right? We know, again, for those of us that are conscious in the community about the plights and the things that we suffer from, then that intentionality is important. And what we have is we're comfortable in the echo chamber. And so if you look around and you see the different spaces in which Black people exist, usually it's the same faces that sit on a lot of the same committees and boards, right? And it's wonderful that, they're so impassioned. I don't even know if that's a word, that they're so passionate that they would extend of themselves and sacrifice and give themselves on this board and that committee and this and that. But it's like, again, there's so many people out here. Why is it the same people in the same spaces? And the danger in that is you don't end up having a diversity of thought. We're not a monolith in the Black community. We all think different ways, right? And so that perspective from a diverse standpoint of the Black voice is important to have be heard. These people can't do all the work. It's exhausting. I know, because I sit on a lot of boards and committees, right? It's a lot of work. But I also know that I have a certain amount of bandwidth. And what I don't ever want to do is just be on a board or a committee just for the sake of
just for being on it. Yeah.
If I don't see that I'm making a tangible difference in steering an organization toward the betterment of the community, then this space needs to be, filled by someone else. But we need those other ideas. That's why, to me, the conduit is so important, because I can have a councilman on, I can have an executive director of an organization, I can have someone who's experiencing homelessness or food insecurity or whatever the case may be, and speak to the entire spectrum and have all of their ideas and their thoughts out there for sharing and discussion, right? Giving voice to that. And we say that, we want to give, power to those that don't have a voice, but then we don't really actually see that in practice, right? Or we'll say, yeah, this is what you value or this is what you think, but, again, it should be done this way. What you talking about, it doesn't even make any sense. I don't even know why you're trying to do that. Instead of having framing and understanding what their perspective is from their lived experience and the work that they've already put into it. So being intentional and genuine, I think is something that we all need to take on in order to do that. And I'm going to add a number 6. And the last one is grace. We don't have a lot of grace that we offer each other or ourselves, for that matter, right? Again, when we talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome, we talk about the traumas, when we talk about, and I'm, you say these concepts over and over again because people understand the concepts if they know about them. 2, they need to learn about them. And then 3, for those of us that know about it, right? and are working to dismantle those things, we often are dismantling them, but then do not extend grace to our own people, right? And so we can point out when the dominant society is oppressing us in the ways that they do, but we cannot see the ways, or we will not acknowledge in the ways that we are oppressing ourselves, right? Or our community first, and or see ways that we're oppressing ourselves. And so that is the step that I think that is missing for us to move forward, right? We woke up several years ago, maybe a decade ago, and now that we're awake, what are we going to do now that we're awake, right? What is our intention? What is our genuine our action items that we're going to do to move forward? How are we going to measure that? How do you measure that in yourself, as far as the gains that you're hoping to make and the difference that you're hoping to make in your community and in yourself, the businesses that exist in and around you, and finding those things out. So I wanted to add grace in there because I tell people all the time about grace.
I wanted to do something because I think about, I think about it, and maybe someone is trying to figure out what you mean by grace. And let me give you the definition of grace, because I think it's just profound. Let me give you first the walking definition: simple elegance or refinement of movement. So we all know that as grace. But here's where it pertains to what Marwan is saying with everything: courteous goodwill. That's what grace is. Or to do honor or credit to someone or something by just one's presence. So when we say grace, we're just saying you're there in a giving, caring, nurturing spirit. And everything you're doing is that of love, of courteous, of goodwill. So when we say grace, that's what we're meaning.
Nice. Man, I love that.
I just had to, because I know that some people say grace, so I'm graceful. And I was like, no, we're not. This is not a swan. We're talking about courteous goodwill. And I love that. I mean, that just defines what we should be with one another. So
absolutely. So again, you're watching The Conduit with Marwan Cameron. My guest today is my oldest friend, Roderick McGrew.
Yes.
Man, we have been going 3 hours and 17 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Indeed, because this is my first podcast, y'all, and I'm going to have to get a better chair for my next one.
Well, what did you think for your first podcast?
Nah, it feels good to have the dialogue, and, it's one thing to think about it, say it to yourself, but to be able to speak it aloud, bounce off each other what you think and how it should go. This is a beautiful thing. I just recently subscribed to your Conduit because I couldn't even find it because I wanted to hear it, and so I just recently subscribed to it, and I think it's a fantastic outlet for people, and to be able to discuss the things that you mainly hear by yourself and you can't really bounce off anything. So this was great to talk it out loud. And then, not only do you give, but you get, and you hear, oh my goodness. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's great. So yeah, this was fantastic. I liked it. I mean, I know we've been here for a while, but I know it was over 3 hours. I mean, shoot.
Well, that's why I tried to give you I was like, you might want to take a bathroom break and get something to eat.
Now I'm hanging in there. I mean, but trust me, we nearing the end. So
no, we're nearing the end. So no, I definitely appreciate you and and we have conversations like this all the time.
Yeah, we talk a lot, and this I mean, he brings what he's got going on. I let him know what I got going on. And in the middle, we see if we can heal the world. So,
wow. All right. We'll drop the mic on that one. We went down memory lane, told some funny stories. Definitely want to give you applause for your first podcast.
Thank you.
Definitely very impactful and good. I definitely enjoy myself. Of course, I always do. I don't think I told any jokes that kind of missed the mark. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think we're okay. I mean, we had good censorship, so we're okay.
Good. Shout out to everyone that tuned in. Obviously, I will be, not obviously, how would you know if I'm doing it? I will rebroadcast this later because it is Sunday and it is 76 degrees. So most people are outside enjoying the day.
I would hope so.
I understand. But, we had to get this out. And I literally woke up with this topic. So we had
literally just militants in the morning.
So I hope that you have a good day. I hope that you have a good week. Monday is tomorrow. My favorite day. Everything starts. Try to go into your week reflective with serenity and our keyword grace. I appreciate your time and I hope to see you next time. I'm R1 Cameron and this is The Conduit.